Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto wields nuibari chunin exams. Before I start, please support for more amazing content and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by aprilliarsv, link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. Chapter 1. And so fell, the sword of fate. 9-year-old Naruto Uzumaki, dressed in his rather unique orange jumpsuit, was walking down the street after failing his review test at the academy. All the while grumbling about his failure. Who cares what the Shodaime Hokage's bloodline was, I'll be better than he ever could be without a bloodline. TCH. What difference does what element is weak against fire make when my jutsu will be so strong it will overpower it anyway? Naruto's grumbling was interrupted when he kicked a large rock and stumbled onto his hands and knees. Nobody on the street paid any attention to him, like always. Normally he would get up and start shouting out loud, just hoping for some sign of acknowledgement that maybe, just maybe, someone cared. However, for once he didn't care. Lying on the ground in front of him was several pieces of paper. On the top was a picture of a man with short black hair, a Kiri headband, sideways on his head, bandages covering his mouth and nose, no shirt, and black and white camouflage pants. The thing that stood out the most though, was his sword. It was big, really big. It almost looked like a giant butcher knife. Naruto picked up the papers and ran to his apartment as fast as he could. When he got there he started reading, he had trouble understanding a lot of it for several reasons. The main one, because it was written for high-level ninja, not 9-year-old academy students. The other being that he usually didn't like to read, he never got acknowledged for reality. Chapter 2. Genin exam. The 12-year-old Naruto Uzumaki was sitting in the back of the class. He was a little tall for his age, at 12 years old, he stood about 5'1". He had short, spiky blonde hair and the bluest eyes since the Yondaime Hokage. He was wearing his usual cow pattern white and black camouflage pants that the Hokage special ordered him from Kiri for his birthday, a black long-sleeved shirt with a burnt orange Uzumaki spiral on the back, and black shinobi sandals. Though few knew about it, Naruto always kept his Zanbatsu, a 6-foot-long katana like Weapon Ichigo's sword from season 1 of Bleach, sealed into a scroll in his kunai pouch. Naruto wasn't on the best terms with most of the members of his class. He knew he was being unfair, but it didn't truly matter to him. There was only one person in his entire class that Naruto had any respect for. That was Sasuke. While the boy was very dark and was always brooding, he had every right to be. When Sasuke was 7 years old, his older brother, his idol, and the pride of the Uchiha clan, committed near genocide. He killed every member of the Uchiha clan, leaving only Sasuke. However, the boy's brother didn't leave without a parting gift. That gift just so happened to be 36 hours of constantly replaying the death of their parents, by his hand. Since that time, the boy had come very far, already he was named as a prodigy. While not on the same level as Itachi. He was impressive. He lived for one reason. Revenge. While Naruto had no real friends from his current class, he was good friends with Team 9. The students of Mizukage. Lee was a Taijutsu specialist that tried to be just a little too much like his rather eccentric sensei. Tenten was a pretty brown-haired brown-eyed girl with a fetish for anything sharp and pointy. Neji was an arrogant Hyuga that Naruto was sure there was a stick up his ass. It was a rather strange team. Team 9 had happened on him when he was practicing combining his Genjutsu with the silent killing jutsu. They actually became pretty good friends. Lee was drawn to his hard work and the fact that he had gone from the dead last to competing for Rookie of the Year. Tenten was drawn to the giant sword he swung like it weighed as much as a kunai. Neji had a grudging respect for him because he showed him his greatest weakness. If he couldn't get close, then he couldn't win. Flashback. Water release. Hidden mist jutsu. The surrounding area was filled with a mist so thick that visibility was zero. Naruto Uzumaki, no longer able to see his prey thanks to his self-created mist, just listened. The slight rustle of clothes, the shifting of feet, even down to the beating of the heart and the oxygen entering the lungs. Well, that may not seem like much to someone fighting with zero visibility, that is the way of the hunt. Snap. Naruto's head shifted for the direction of the broken twig with his Zanbatsu at the ready. With one downward slash, the fight was over. Instead of blood, there was only smoke. As his shadow clone's memories returned to him, Naruto couldn't help but be disappointed in himself. Damn, still too loud. I was startled by the breaking twig and gave away my position, not to mention he heard my footsteps and change in breathing. I'll have to work on that. Just as Naruto was about to dispel his mist jutsu and go home to rest for the night, Naruto was made aware that he was not as alone as he had believed. Lee. Sensei. Lee. Sensei. Lee, my beautiful student, your youthfulness is an inspiration to us all. When Naruto heard the voices he attempted to quickly dispel the mist and hide his sword, but he was too late. The group had a Hyuga who just so happened to be attempting to test his telescopic vision distance. "Sensei, there is someone occupying our training ground. He appears to be our age, maybe a little younger, and is wielding a very large katana-like sword." As soon as Niji had spoke of the katana, Tenten had stars in her eyes. She was unable to suppress the urge to squeal and began skipping over in the direction he was in. Niji's sweat dropped at seeing his usually tomboyish teammate go girly over a sword. Meanwhile, Lee and Guy started yelling about Tenten's youth and began to power skip after her. Sighing, Niji walked after them, all the while mumbling about his insane teammates and sensei. Meanwhile, Naruto is rushing as fast as he can to seal all of his gear away. It had been 2 years since he began taking his training seriously and he was proud that nobody knew of his skill, aside of course from Iruka-sensei and Sarutobi-sensei. However, he was too slow. Tenten came skipping through the trees, as soon as her eyes landed on his sword, she was at his side faster than he could blink. He was slightly scared when he noticed the stars in her eyes. Hey? Who would have thought that could result in one of his only true friendships. Then flashback. Currently Naruto was sitting in his class waiting for the graduation exam to begin so he can get this done with. Naruto loved Iruka-sensei like a big brother, but being in his current class just put him in a bad mood. All those talks by Iruka and even the Hokage and his fellow academy students, with the exception of Sasuke, were still children. Like right now, he had to listen to Sakura Haruno, the current head Kunoichi of the class, and Ino Yamanaka, the heiress to the famous mind-walking Yamanaka clan, argue over something as petty as who sits next to their love. It sickened him to think that this was what was considered his equal. When Iruka walked into his class he had to sweat drop. These are supposed to be ninja. Iruka takes a deep breath to perform his famous jutsu, and Naruto covers his sensitive ears. No matter what he tried, he couldn't figure out how to desensitize his ears to sudden, loud noises. "You're supposed to be ninja, what the hell is the matter with you? Sit down and shut up. I've been spending too much time around Naruto-kun." His attitude is starting to rub off. Shaking the scary thoughts away, Iruka continues what he was there for. "Today is your graduation test to become ninja, act like it." The glare he sent the class made some of them shiver. "Okay, today's test will have 5 parts. Written, Taijutsu, Ninjutsu, and Genjutsu. The final and most important stage is an all-out spar using any and all shinobi arts and tactics. The first test will be the written test. Here you go." Iruka handed out papers. "Okay, the test contains 25 questions. You have 45 minutes. Begin." As the students finish, they bring their test to Iruka and sit back down. Iruka begins grading the tests. What element is weak against fire? Wind. Very good. What is a ninja's greatest weapon? Cool jutsu. Sorry Kiba, it's deception. An hour later, Iruka stands up from his desk. "Okay, here are the top 5 scores. Sakura Haruno, Sasuke Uchiha, Shino Aburam, Ino Yamanaka, and Naruto Uzumaki." Naruto couldn't help but chuckle at his academic grade. He remembered back when Iruka blackmailed him into trying in class. Flashback. "Please, Iruka-sensei." "I said no Naruto, you're not even trying in theory, why would I help you with something else? But it's so boring and useless." Iruka stopped. An overwhelming smile overtook his face. Naruto started to back away from the slightly maniac gleam in his sensei's eyes. "You say theory is useless? Well then, let's give it use, I will help you." Naruto's smile almost split his face. "If you pass theory." Naruto's giant smile disappeared. "What?" Iruka's smug smile just made Naruto angrier. "I don't think it's too much to ask. If you start to score in the top 8 in theory then I will help you with your other training." Naruto just walked away muttering to himself. Stupid stubborn senseis, can't even give a guy a break. Seeing Naruto walk away in the opposite direction of his house, Iruka was curious. "Hey, Naruto, where are you going?" Naruto's new personality showing, he yelled out as he kept walking and gave his sensei the bird. "To the library." Then flashback. "Okay, the next test will be the Taijutsu test, you will be paired up and spar. It does not matter if you win, only if you show enough skill to warrant genin status. Now, you know both me and Mizuki, this here is a special jonin by the name of Genma Shiranui." The newcomer was wearing the standard jonin uniform of Konoha with shoulder-length brown hair and a bandana on the top. He was impassive as he chewed on a senbon. The first few fights were pathetic. Out of the entire class, the only ones with Taijutsu skill were Kiba, if he could control his emotions better, Hinata, if she would stop being so meek, and Choji, if he would train more and get faster. The last match was rather anticipated. Naruto Uzumaki vs Sasuke Uchiha. Naruto himself was pretty excited about this match. They were the first and second of the class with Naruto barely leading Taijutsu and Ninjutsu and Sasuke leading thrown weapons, book smarts and Genjutsu. Begin. As soon as they were told to start, Sasuke charged with a punch towards the face. Naruto sidestepped, grabbed and twisted Sasuke's wrist and attempted to knee Sasuke in the ribs. However, much to Naruto's surprise, Sasuke jumped to the side and allowed his body to twist with his wrist. While in the air, Sasuke brought his foot down in a heel drop, aimed at Naruto's shoulder. Just before the hit connected, Naruto released Sasuke's wrist. Both jumped back to give some space. "You didn't think that would work again, did you? How dumb do you think I am?" Naruto just continued to give the last Uchiha a blank stare before shrugging. Using the war face Iritobi-sensei had taught him about. "I must say that I'm surprised. I had believed you were too arrogant to learn from your mistakes because that would mean you acknowledge them as mistakes." The condescending tone that Naruto spoke in caused Sasuke's previous level-headedness to vanish. Unable to keep his war face, Naruto smirked. "Always keep your emotions in check, shinobi rule number 3. Charging in at his top speed, Sasuke got sloppy. His poor attempt at a right hook was negated when Naruto went low, knocking the raven-haired boy's feet out from under him. However, the boy recovered quickly and avoided Naruto's backhand. The two exchanged several blows. After almost a minute of constant fighting, Sasuke finds himself on his back. He sees Naruto coming in for a drop kick to the chest, but he was having none of that. Sasuke hip-ups, narrowly avoiding the blonde's foot. Being to the side, Sasuke spins and lands a backhand to Naruto's face, at the same time as Naruto's right hook catches Sasuke's stomach. Before either recovers, they hear Iruka whistling to signify the end of the match. The entire class was speechless. Including the instructors. Genma could hardly believe what he had just seen. Which was made obvious by the senbon that was sitting at his feet. No matter how many times they saw them, 2 academy students shouldn't be that strong. The 2 chunin and 1 special jonin moved to a smaller area and began discussing the fights. They were only there for a few minutes before Mizukage stormed off, rage on his face, and the other 2 came back to the group. Iruka began reading off his sheet. Top 5 Taijutsu are Naruto Uzumaki, Sasuke Uchiha, Kiba Inuzuka, Hinata Hyuga and Choji Akimichi. Now we have the Genjutsu test. Sasuke's anger was easily seen, but the boy held his tongue. He knew it would get him nowhere. Iruka spoke up, getting everyone's attention again. "Feel free to rest out here, you will come back to the classroom when we call your name, we will cast a Genjutsu, and you will have to find it and dispel it. First up Shino Abiram." Everyone went through the test. Only Hinata, Shino, and Sasuke were able to find and dispel the Genjutsu. Everyone else except Kiba were at least able to find it. They received their scores for how fast. Top 5 Genjutsu are Hinata Hyuga, Shino Abiram, Sasuke Uchiha, Naruto Uzumaki, and Ino Yamanaka. Sasuke was seething. "Damn it. I need the Sharingan. No matter what I do, it won't unlock. It should with my first mission." "Okay, now the ninjutsu portion will be held outside. You will perform substitution, clone and transformation. For extra credit you can perform a jutsu outside of the basic 3, whether it is a clan jutsu or just one you picked up during your time here." Everyone went, the ones from clans doing their clan jutsu. Well, most of the civilians didn't know any. Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto went through the basic 3 with the exception of the clone which he used water release. Water clone jutsu. Naruto had to walk over to the nearby pond for his personal jutsu. Okay, no higher than B rank. No reason to get any extra notice. Water release. 5 eating sharks jutsu. Naruto slammed his hands onto the surface of the water and nothing happened. Sasuke just looked arrogant, thinking that Naruto made a mistake. "So, Blondie screws up again, no surprise, it's a wonder you waited this long to choke. How about you take a stroll onto the water and let me know what you think of my jutsu?" HN. Sasuke just turned up his nose and walked away. "Hey Iruka-sensei, can you just send a clone so I can finish?" Iruka nodded and made a water clone. It didn't get 5 feet onto the water when 2 large sharks made of water jumped and tore the clone apart. Had it been the real Iruka, he would be missing his right leg and left arm. Satisfied? "Yes, very good Naruto. TCH. What a worthless jutsu, needing water for it." Naruto glanced at Sasuke who didn't even seem to be paying attention anymore. "I use ninjutsu to supplement my taijutsu. Of course if you were as smart as everyone claims then you would know that." Sasuke went red in the face and was about to attack Naruto when Iruka called out. "Okay, good job Naruto. Next Shikamaru Nara." As Naruto walked towards a tree so he could relax in the shade, Naruto could help but think back to when he had learned that he had a water affinity. Flashback. DRRRRRRR. 2 weeks and he hadn't learned anything that would help him get stronger. He had stolen, borrowed, 1 textbook for every year at the academy, but those only had the very basic of stuff in them, designed to have a teacher teach the students. It wouldn't help anyone out if the other villages could get their hands on exactly what their young genin would know. Damn it. I can't do this alone, the library probably wouldn't help, I wouldn't understand it, maybe the old man will have an idea but that would mean I have to tell him what I'm doing. I wanted to surprise everyone well, it wouldn't be much of a surprise if I didn't learn anything anyways oh well, off to the old man's office. Doing something that very few could get away with, Naruto walked right into the Hokage's office, most others would have been restrained by Anbu, but this is Naruto. Old man, can you help me? As soon as the words left the boy's mouth, the elder Kage was searching the boy for injuries, he saw some scraps, but that was normal for a ninja in training. No, nobody's hurting me anymore, I don't want to be weak anymore. This caught the Hokage off guard. Then why don't you pay attention in class? Naruto only seemed to be trying to hide in his jacket. Whenever I would do good, the teachers would punish me. The Hokage's eyes went wide with surprise before righteous anger overtook his face. When will those fools ever come to terms with the fact that Naruto is not the Kyuubi? When old man Sarutobi saw Naruto's face, he was taken aback, it was full of raw determination, nothing would stop him on his quest, he didn't want pity or remorse, all he wanted was to correct it. The decision was easy. Well, what is it you want help with? The old Naruto quickly returned. I want learn water ninjutsu and Genjutsu. That surprised the old man. Water ninjutsu and Genjutsu? Why? Water ninjutsu is often viewed as the weakest of the elements, it lacks the density for defense that earth has, and the damaging abilities that fire, wind, and lightning have. Naruto watched nervously as Sarutobi proved how he got the name the professor, as his mind continued to work through the problem. And Genjutsu, well popular in the elemental nations, Konoha has never had any truly great Genjutsu specialists, so it never truly took hold. The closest I would say was Orochimaru, and that was because the snake summons possessed a grass cutter or Kushina, but she was relatively unknown since she was in Anbu, and her identity was kept a secret. Our Nindame, he used water ninjutsu and Genjutsu with the Raijin. The only other possibility would be one of the 7 swordsmen of Kiri that's it, he must have discovered some info on either the 7 swordsmen, maybe one of the 7, or our own Nindame. Well, now for a test. What kind of sword did you want to learn? A katana? Maybe a ninjato? There are so many to choose from. Being the naive kid he is, Naruto didn't know he was walking right into Sarutobi's trap. I want his Zanbatsu. That did it. So, something got him hooked on the 7 swordsmen, I wonder what. So, Naruto. What has inspired you to take on the fighting style of the 7 ninja swordsmen of Kiri? Naruto's eyes went wide at being discovered. What? But how? Sarutobi gave a light chuckle. Experience my boy. Water ninjutsu and Genjutsu is the primary fighting style of the 7 swordsmen, you just sealed the deal when you specified that you wanted a Zanbatsu. 4 of the 7 use a Zanbatsu, the only ones that aren't have different specialties and uses. Naruto looked down, his face unreadable even to Sarutobi. Damn, he saw right through me. I need to learn how to read people and give away only what is needed. Seeing the face on Naruto, the old man decided to calm him down. No worries Naruto, I was known as the professor because of my ability to read people and the best move and what each person might do. To gauge your ability to conceal your actions against someone like me would be like trying to run before you have even heard of crawling. Naruto was in thought for a few more seconds before he smiled at the man who had been like his grandfather. So, what is you so interested in the 7 swordsmen? Slowly, Naruto reached into his jacket and showed the Hokage several pieces of paper. After reading through the insert from the bingo book, Sarutobi looked at Naruto with a stern expression. Naruto, it is great that you have found the drive you have been sorely lacking, but you must know that there could be a time down the road that you have to fight him or just a Kirinin in general. You need to understand that you may have to kill them. Naruto surprised Sarutobi by answering quickly and seriously, a feature never before seen on the orange-wearing ninja to be. I know old man, we are different villages. Good, now let's see if what your affinity is, if it is anything but water, then they will be harder to use. If it is fire or earth, water ninjutsu will be very difficult nearly impossible. Naruto nodded in understanding, having read the basics of affinities in the 4th year academy textbook. Sarutobi hands Naruto a small white sheet of paper and tells him to channel chakra into it. As fate would deem, the paper got wet. Then flashback. Naruto couldn't help but smile at the memory. Meanwhile, several other ninja wannabes went, mostly civilian. Sasuke Uchiha. Sasuke did the basic 3 with ease. Then he got a smirk and whipped 4 kunai towards a tree, one stopped short and fell to the ground, while the rest each embedded in the center. Only Iruka noticed the wire that was too short on one of the kunai. Sticking the remaining 3 in his mouth, Sasuke flashed through some hand seals. High release. Dragon Fire Jutsu. Fire roared to life and traveled down the wire before burning the tree to a crisp. Iruka was impressed. The last few go and they give out the top 5 for the ninjutsu test. Naruto Uzumaki, Sasuke Uchiha, Ino Yamanaka, Shino Aburam, and Nara Shikamaru. Before anyone could say anything, Sakura's and Ino's voices could be heard. But how did he get a higher score than Sasuke? His jutsu needed water. The voice from behind answered for Iruka. You see, this test is not to see who knows the biggest or most powerful jutsu. It is to see how well you can do your jutsu. Judging by young Sasuke's simple mistake, he has yet to master this jutsu. If you use this in combat, there is a possibility that you could make another simple mistake and it could cost your life. Everyone except Naruto and Iruka were shocked that the Hokage had come to see them graduate. Ah, Hokage-sama, is there anything I can do for you? Oh, no. I just wanted to see this year's batch of genin. I have been so busy with paperwork I haven't been able to check on their status in class. Please, continue, pretend I'm not here. Iruka nods. Iruka couldn't help but shake his head when he thought about how nervous he used to be around the Hokage. Understood, Hokage-sama. It is now time for the shinobi art spar. You are allowed to use any jutsu in your arsenal, just don't kill your opponent. First up, Kiba Inuzuka vs Naruto Uzumaki. We got this one in the bag, Akamaru. Naruto just walked to the ring. Good luck, you can use any and all ninja tools, jutsu, or weapons. If I suspect you are going for a killing blow, I will be removing you from the charter. That means you would automatically be placed in the reserves and only called on in a time of war. Understood? Receiving a nod from both. Begin. DCH, you don't stand a chance. I've been training really hard. Just give up. Naruto gave Kiba a nod before speaking. Hey Kibble, didn't I beat you on every part of the test? You should train harder. Kiba stopped listening after the Kibble comment and was about to charge in before he thought of something and got a wicked smirk on his face. Just for that, instead of beating you, I'm going to embarrass you. Kiba, thinking this will be easy, just goes through several hand seals. Secret jutsu. Four legs jutsu. Kiba hunched over as his hands and feet grew claws while his fangs extended. Kiba launched at Naruto with speed on the border of chunin level. The increase in speed allowed Kiba to land an elbow to Naruto's stomach. However, his water clones hit harder. The blow didn't even leave him winded. Naruto retaliated with a kick that Kiba barely managed to dodge. When Kiba righted himself, he saw Naruto make a few hand seals. Water release. Hit and miss jutsu. The area became clouded with fog before nobody could see 2 feet in front of them. Without bothering to test his theory, Kiba starts to mouth off. Ha, idiot, I'm an Inuzuka. We hunt just as well with our noses as our eyes. Kiba channeled chakra to his nose and took a whiff. His sense of smell was assaulted. It seemed as he was surrounded by him. What the hell? How is your scent everywhere? Naruto's voice came from everywhere. It sounded slightly demonic. And you call me the idiot? This mist was created with my chakra. All the surrounding mist has my scent. You will never be able to track me here. As soon as Naruto was done talking, Kiba received a punch to the face. Before he could even think about recovering, he was pounded in the stomach by Naruto's foot. The fight went on for a few minutes like this. Kiba unable to find Naruto, and Naruto appearing from the mist just long enough to hit Kiba before disappearing again. 4 minutes into the fight, the mist cleared to reveal a perfectly fine Naruto and a battered and bruised Kiba. Winner Naruto Uzumaki. Okay, next up Choji vs Shino. Naruto ignored the rest of the fights. He knew what would happen with all of them anyways. Shino sucked chakra, Shikamaru would fight just long enough to show he could win and then give up, it would be pointless to pay attention. Okay, everyone to the classroom to find out who passed and who failed. The class just sat in their seats talking about this and that until Iruka returned. Congratulations, everyone passed. The top 5 are Naruto Uzumaki as Rookie of the Year, Sasuke Uchiha as a close second, Shino Aburam, Hinata Hyuga, and Ino Yamanaka. If one were to look at Sasuke, you would see rage stretched across his face. His desk was slightly cracked from how hard he was squeezing it. If I can't beat the blonde idiot, how am I going to kill him? Iruka began walking around the class handing out headbands. He gave Naruto a black one with an extra long cloth, which Naruto put on his head sideways much like Zabuza's in his bingo book picture. Okay, sometime today, you must go to the Hokage tower to have your shinobi ID picture taken. You all need to come back tomorrow for team placement. After quickly getting his picture taken, Naruto was just walking around, he had nothing to do receiving looks contempt from everyone. Naruto decided he would train for a while to clear his mind. 4 hours later, a slightly bloody, bruised and exhausted Naruto is laying in the middle of training ground 37. His mind is still clouded. Why did I want to become a shinobi for this village? It's not like anyone likes me. I have no friends, no family, the only people to actually care about me are Lee, Tenten, possibly Niji, Sarutobi-sensei and Iruka-sensei. Not liking the dark turn of his thoughts, Naruto decides to go home and go to sleep. The next morning, we find Naruto Uzumaki roof hopping towards the Shinobi Academy. He had trained hard and forgot to set his alarm. He burst through the classroom door to find everyone there and Iruka with a roll call in his hands. Iruka gives him a pointed look before continuing. Okay, once again, congratulations on graduating. However, as ninja, your life just got a lot harder. Listen up for your name. Team 1 is. Naruto noticed that the civilians with the least talent were the ones in teams 1 to 6. Team 7 will be Sasuke Uchiha, Sakura Haruno Q Sakura's declaration of true love and Naruto Uzumaki. Everyone stopped at this. The tension between Naruto and Sasuke was easily noticed. Excuse me Iruka-sensei, I must have heard you wrong, did you just put me on the same team as both, the Uchiha and the bookworm? The whole class laughed at how true it was. Well, Sakura went red in the face and Sasuke just grunted. Sorry Naruto, these teams came directly from the Hokage. Naruto just nodded, still not understanding why the old man would put him in this situation. With this team, it was torture. Teammate will be Hinata Hyuga, Kiba Inuzuka, and Shino Aburam. None of them had any complaints. Except Hinata, who wanted to be on the same team as her. Hinata couldn't even think about being on his team without her face getting painfully red. Team 9 is still active, so Team 10 will be Ino Yamanaka, Choji Akimichi, and Shikamaru Nara. This got 3 different reaction. Ino started yelling about how Sakura got to be with Sasuke-kun and she was stuck with a lazy pineapple head and the human garbage disposal. Shikamaru just put his head down muttering to himself. Choji just munched on his chips. 3 hours later, Team 7 is the only ones left. Iruka had left about an hour and a half ago. This left Naruto alone with his teammates and he uses the word lightly. Kakashi Haddock was walking towards the academy to pick up his future students. He knew they would be mad that he was late, but he didn't care. They will only be my students for a day before they fail. Kakashi had long since stopped bothering to even read their files. After the first 14 teams he failed, he just didn't see the point of even knowing their names. When Kakashi walked into the classroom, he was greeted with the sight of a pink-haired girl fawning over a brooding black-haired boy, while a blonde-haired boy appeared to be taking notes. Ahem. This got all of their attention. Naruto quickly covered his ears. It proved to be smart because it turned out the pink one had a healthy set of lungs on her. You're late. Blinking his eyes after having his eardrums assaulted, he couldn't help but glare slightly at the girl. SHHHH. I am right here after all. A slight edge to his voice and hard look in his eye made Sakura shiver in fear. The small dose of killing intent may have had something to do with that though. Meet me on the roof. But that he disappeared in a swirl of leaves. The 2 genin just sat there, not sure what to do while Naruto stood up and started walking towards the stairs. This seemed to snap the others out of their stupor and they followed him up. When they arrived on the roof, they saw their future sensei sitting on a bench reading an orange book while letting out an occasional giggle. They just sat in front of him and waited to be acknowledged. 10 minutes of perverse giggling and the 3 genin had still not been noticed. Each showed their annoyance in different ways. Naruto's fists were clenched so hard that blood had actually been drawn. Sasuke kept his cold indifference on his face, with the exception of his twitching eyebrow. Sakura was glaring death at the one-eyed man. Just when it looked like Sakura was gonna blow, the little orange book snapped shut. The silver-haired jonin looked up, staring into the souls of each genin. Sorry, that was my favorite part. Misaki sure is a dirty little girl. Kakashi was internally smiling when he saw how close to the edge the 3 were. My name is Kakashi Haddock. Several years ago, I would have had you introduce yourselves. However, at this point I don't see a reason. Just know, 14 teams in 7 years have taken this test. 0 have passed. Hell, none have even come close to passing. The test will be at Training Ground 7 tomorrow at 7. Do not eat. Failure to obey my orders is grounds to immediately fail. Training Ground 7 at 7 a.m. When Kakashi arrives at Training Ground 7 at 10 a.m., he is greeted with a sight similar to every other time he has seen his team. Sasuke is brooding while Sakura stares at him. However, this time Naruto isn't here. That is until he notices Naruto sitting at the stream at the edge of the training field. Gather round everyone so we can find out if you're genin material. What do you mean genin material? We are already genin. Kakashi doesn't even acknowledge the Kunoichi. Naruto walked closer and leaned against a nearby tree to listen to their sensei. Well, only 33% of the class will actually become genin. The rest will either be put in the reserves or be removed from the program. This got the reaction he desired, almost. 2 of the 3 genin were floored. Sakura's eyes were wide and her mouth was moving like a fish out of water. Sasuke's head snapped toward the jonin and glared death at him. He was disappointed in Naruto's reaction, who just rose his eyebrows and stared impassively. However, Kakashi wasn't an A-rank ninja for nothing, he could see the wheels turning in the blonde's mind. Your test will be to get a bell. Kakashi pulled out 2 bells. But Kakashi-sensei, there are only 2 bells. Sakura's statement silenced the next thing Kakashi was going to say before he managed to get past the obvious statement without insulting the girl. Yes, that means that no matter what, one of you will fail. You have 2 hours. Oh, and if you want even the slightest chance, then come at me with intent to kill. Begin. All 3 genin disappeared into different parts of the training ground. Sasuke was in a tree, Sakura was under a bush, and Naruto was in a tree near the same stream he was at before he arrived. After 15 minutes, Kakashi got bored and decided to test them individually. Maybe showing them how outclassed they are will make them see the true meaning. Never worked before. It didn't take long for Kakashi to sneak up behind Sakura. She was so concentrated on looking for Sasuke that she didn't even notice he was 2 feet to her left. She has a lot of work ahead of her. The only question is, will she do it? With the skills of an elite jonin, Kakashi casts a D-rank Genjutsu without hand seals or calling it out. Demonic illusion. Hell viewing jutsu. Sakura was determinedly on the search for her Sasuke-kun. After about 20 minutes she was getting frustrated. She began ranting about how incredible Sasuke-kun was to be able to hide so well. Her ranting were cut off by a weak voice. Sakura, hell help me. Sakura. When the pink-haired fangirl turned around she saw a most gruesome sight. Sasuke was crawling on the ground, kunai and shuriken sticking from his back while blood dripped from his mouth. She did what any skilled kunoichi would do. She screamed before fainting. Kakashi just watched the proceedings with a sweat drop. I figured with her low chakra reserves, she would have turned to Genjutsu. I was obviously wrong. Kakashi just shrugged and went off to find Sasuke, who was not too far away. As Kakashi walked past the tree he knew Sasuke was hiding in, he heard the telltale sound of kunai flying through the air. Performing a seal-less substitution just as 3 kunai impact the log. Sasuke, seeing the jonin escape, knows he has to leave as his position is compromised. Sasuke quickly vacates the tree. He begins to look around for his new sensei but can't find him. Relaxing his guard slightly before a whisper reaches his ears. You shouldn't let your guard down. Sasuke, reacting on instinct, quickly turns and attempts to kick the jonin. This turns out to be for naught as Kakashi just takes a step back and continues to read his book. Jonin or not, I can't fail here. Sasuke charges head-on towards the obviously superior ninja. The Taijutsu match that occurs is interesting. The only point at which it seems Sasuke had the upper hand was when he managed to touch one of the bells. However, all that did was force Kakashi to put the book away and Sasuke never even got close. Even through his Uchiha pride, Sasuke can't see that Kakashi is better than him at Taijutsu. Let's see how he likes ninjutsu. Going through a few hand seals that make Kakashi's eye widen. A genin shouldn't have the chakra for that. Pi release. Great fireball jutsu. A small explosion occurs when the fireball hit. When the fire and smoke cleared, there was nothing there. Nobody can stand up to the Uchiha clan's ninjutsu. Sasuke heard a muffled voice that he was unable to understand. It became clear that Kakashi was not dead when a pair of hands wrapped around his ankles and dragged him under the ground up to his neck. Before Kakashi reappeared from the ground. You're not bad, not good either, but not bad. I still have one more genin to toy with before this test is over. Have fun digging yourself out. As Kakashi began the long walk over towards the stream, he sighed. Maybe I could just let him come to me. No, this will be more fun. He probably uses water ninjutsu. At least he knows he will need every advantage he can get. And so, Kakashi was not far away from the stream, but the strange thing is that he can no longer sense Naruto. It is as if Naruto was luring me into a trap. Nah, this is a fresh out of the academy genin. As Kakashi was walking towards the stream he had sensed Naruto at, he was sidestepping an occasional tripwire. He was noticing that the closer he got, the traps got more complex and harder to detect. He had to admit he was impressed. That only brought him to the thought that he still couldn't sense the genin. He leave? The answer to his question came when he saw the genin standing about 50 yards away on the stream. At this point several things surprised him. If it wasn't for him being in sight, he wouldn't know where the genin was. The fresh out of the academy genin was able to walk on water. However, the biggest surprise was the 6-foot katana strapped to his back. While his attention was on his clone, the real Naruto snuck behind him to quickly add in traps to give the jonin no escape. The jonin and the clone just stood there, staring each other down. However, Kakashi's eyes widened when his danger sense told him to duck. Had he not, he would have lost his head to a genin with a really big sword. When he looked towards the Naruto he had been staring down, he was surprised when it turned to water. Water clone. Surprising for an academy student. That's not all I know. Naruto went through a few hand seals. Water release. Hidden miss jutsu. Naruto is almost positive that his skill in silent killing jutsu is not high enough to fight Kakashi head-on, but it may allow him to get a bell if he is underestimated. Damn, this mist is so thick I can't even see my hand. Having developed a dependency on his Sharingan, fighting with sound was never Kakashi's strong point. He quickly drew 2 kunai to defend himself. Kakashi is thinking about how hard to fight this genin, it is obvious he is skilled. I may have to fight with a third of my ability. Naruto can hear the telltale sound of kunai against leather. He drew kunai. Too bad he is too experienced to mess with his head, but maybe. Naruto forms a hand seal and silently creates 5 water clones. Kakashi is silently standing in the mist, just waiting for the attack. Then it comes. Kakashi blocks a slash from the Zanbatsu with a kunai and lashes out with his foot, dispelling the clone. Seeing his attacker be a water clone set Kakashi on edge. The 4 remaining clones all charge at the jonin from different sides. Kakashi, hearing the comparatively clumsy steps of the clones, is able to dodge the strike from the front and behind, while redirecting the strikes from the sides to kill 2 of the clones. The 2 remaining clones didn't last long as Kakashi dispelled the clones with a short burst of lightning charka. He appears to be very skilled in silent killing. I should get out of the mist to take away his advantage. I won't be able to see the traps, but luckily I was able to memorize their location. Kakashi began sprinting away in the same direction as he had come. He did not get far until he heard a sizzle sound. He immediately knew it was an exploding tag. He jumped to the left as fast as possible, only to activate a trap and have it send several kunai and shuriken at the jonin. He added traps after I came. These ones are more deadly. I have to admit he is good. Kakashi was forced to continue dodging traps for a few minutes. A few even almost got him. Kakashi is surprised when the mist begins to lift. However, he is shocked when standing in front of him is the real Naruto holding 2 bells. Looks like I win. Kakashi could only stare. I got beat by a genin. A genin. If one were to look inside Kakashi's head right now, you would see a chibi Kakashi crying while cuddling with 2 dolls, one with black hair and red EYES Obito, and the other blonde hair and blue EYES Minato. Naruto's voice broke Kakashi out of his depression. If I were to fail the test, then what are my options? Could I go back to the academy and wait until the next class? Kakashi just looked at him like he was stupid. No, you would be put in the reserves until there is a need to bolster our forces. Naruto started mumbling about stupid gay brooders and pink hair fangirls. Fine. Naruto walked back to where Sakura was trying to dig out Sasuke while he sent her glares. It was a rather comical sight. Naruto arrived slightly before Kakashi and threw the bells, one to Sakura and one to Sasuke. To say they were shocked was an understatement. Sasuke's face went from shock to anger. Is Naruto really stronger than me? Kakashi got their attention before sunshining away. Be here tomorrow at 7 AM. And so began Team 7. Chapter 3. Mission to Wave. Naruto Uzumaki is now positive he does not want to be a ninja for Konoha. In the last 4 months his teacher hasn't taught him anything. He hasn't taught his teammates anything either, but that just proves he is a horrible sensei. All they had done is work on teamwork, which is in all actuality attempting to work together and not have to have Kakashi stop one of them from killing another. Even without the help of their sensei, Naruto and Sasuke are improving, so much so that they are quickly leaving the other genin behind. Meanwhile Sakura stays the same. Naruto, using various training techniques given to him by his surrogate grandfather and secret part-time sensei, the Sandaime Hokage. Sasuke, with access to the greatest ninjutsu, taijutsu and genjutsu library in the elemental nations, thanks to the Uchiha clan's Sharingan copying ability. On top of that, the missions are just doing chores that lazy civilians don't feel like doing. Well, that and catching the cat that he is sure is somehow related to the two-tailed Hellcat. When Team 7 arrive in the Hokage Tower, they are greeted by the smiling face of the Sandaime Hokage. Ah, Team 7 welcome, we have some exciting missions, how about cleaning the Inuzuka kennels, catching Tor the cat? As the Hokage was reading off the missions, his secretary interrupted. Hokage-sama, Team 8 has returned from their first C-rank mission. Kurenai wanted me to inform you that her team will be unable to give their report until tomorrow, apparently they had some minor injuries. The Hokage looked at the genin, only to see a nervous Sakura, knowing where this is going, and an angry Naruto and Sasuke. The old Kage just sighed. Thank you Kiri, you may go. The Hokage's secretary nods before leaving the room. Kakashi, is your team ready for a C-rank mission? Kakashi seems to think about it for a second. If I say no, then I will have to hear them bitch all day until we take one. Plus, maybe that is just what they need. Their teamwork is horrible, and maybe a life or death situation is just what they need. I think they could handle it. This got both Naruto and Sasuke in a slightly better mood, and Sakura even more scared. Send in Tazuna. Whatever, the genin were expecting. An old drunk was nodded. These are the elite ninja I hired. What kind of ninja village is this? They look more like babysitters than ninja. Well, the one with the big sword looks okay, but I don't know. Before Sakura and Sasuke can berate the drunken bridge builder, Kakashi states in his usual, lazy tone. Okay, team, be at the north gate in 2 hours. When Kakashi arrives his normal 3 hours late, he is greeted by an angry pink banshee and an irate drunken bridge builder. Not that he cares. He got lost on the road to life, it was exciting. Let's go, what are you waiting for? Naruto just rolls his eyes at his sensei. While Sasuke just grunts. About 8 hours into the journey, Naruto sees some puddles. However, he can feel they are not normal. He can hear the subtle noises indicating someone hiding. Genjutsu Naruto glances back at Kakashi and he doesn't seem to be paying any attention to anything but his book. He does notice that Sasuke seemed to be aware of the soon-to-be attackers. As they walk past the puddles and nothing happens, Naruto begins to believe he is just being paranoid. However, that changes as 2 mist nin emerge from the puddles and cut Kakashi to pieces using a chain. 1 down. 4 to go. When the 2 chunin level ninja charge head first at the genin, Sakura and Tazuna are scared stiff while Naruto and Sasuke take action. When Sasuke throws a kunai at the one on the right, he just blocks it with a large gauntlet on his right hand and continues to charge. When Naruto sees the charging chunin, he pulls out his sword. Time to see how good I am. I can't use hidden mist because then Sasuke won't be able to see. On top of that, there isn't any water here for any high level ninjutsu. Since Sasuke has the one on the right, Naruto goes for the one on the left. He ducks under the first swipe of the chunin's clawed gauntlet and tries to retaliate with his sword. The chunin is able to block the swing with a chain, but it causes the chain to break. Naruto jumps back and goes through the hand signs for the only offensive water ninjutsu he can do without a water source. Water release. Gunshot jutsu. The chunin expertly dodges the first 2 water bullets but takes the third to the shoulder and the last to the chest. The water bullet winds the chunin and Naruto tries to remove the chunin's left arm, but the nin's experience is well beyond Naruto's. The nin tilts his shoulder back to dodge the swing and slams his fist into Naruto's face. Naruto's face showed shock before morphing into a smirk as the genin dissolved into water. When the chunin heard the footsteps, he jumped back to avoid the swing of the large Zanbatsu. However, he was just a little too late and received a cut across his chest. This only served to make the chunin mad. Having come from Kiri, a land crawling with wannabe Zanbatsu users, the demon brothers are well versed in combating a Zanbatsu. The chunin quickly got in close for the giant sword to be of any use. Thinking quickly, Naruto was able to use the handle of the giant sword to break the nin's jaw. Without hesitation, Naruto brought the sword around to remove the man's head, however, before he could, the chunin blocked with his clawed hand. Unfortunately for the Kiri nin, he was too tired and disoriented to stop the force of the attack, and the heavy sword forced the gauntlet into the man's own face. Naruto watched as the mist nin dropped to the ground, unconscious. Sasuke's fight. When Sasuke's kunai was blocked, he got in close for a taijutsu match. It turned out to be a poor decision as he was unable to land any hits and spends the whole time trying to dodge the more skilled ninja's attacks. When Sasuke tried to put some distance between them for ninjutsu, the mist nin wouldn't let him have it. He stayed too close. While Sasuke was backpedaling, trying to get some much needed breathing space, he was able to see the opening he needed. Drawing a kunai, he jammed it into the elbow joint of the gauntlet, making the chunin unable to move his attacking arm. This allowed Sasuke to land several devastating taijutsu hits, or at least it would have been if it wasn't a young genin against a grown, experienced chunin. Sasuke's hits just didn't cause enough damage. Just as Sasuke drew 2 kunai to fix the problem, Kakashi made himself known by rendering Sasuke's opponent unconscious. Good job, team. Tazuna, you have some explaining to do. Guarding you from ninja wasn't part of our mission. While Tazuna gives his sob story, Naruto isn't paying attention. The thought going through Naruto's head is simple. I almost killed him, I wanted to kill him. If he wasn't able to block, I would have killed him. Is there something wrong with me? I know that ninjas kill, but is it good to want to? Naruto was so lost in thought that he never noticed that they voted and decided to continue the mission. As they continued, Sasuke just brooded even more than usual. He was able to beat his opponent, but I couldn't. 3 days of civilian-paced walking later brings Team 7 and Tazuna to the land of waves. While everyone else is staring at the scenery or the bridge that could be seen in the distance, Naruto is staring at the water. He has never felt so powerful. He found that when your strongest attacks rely on water, the more that is around you, the better you feel. When they arrived at the shore, a boatman was waiting to take them across. Hey Tazuna, let's go. Let's hurry Gichi, we don't want Gato's men to find us. The whole trip, Gichi and Tazuna were searching for any movement that could be Gato's thugs. The trip across the sea was very short and quiet. The most exciting thing was seeing the bridge up close. When they got to shore, Gichi left in a hurry. The further they walked the thicker the mist got. Naruto heard a sound that was something like metal on rock in a bush next to where they were. Acting on instinct, Naruto threw a kunai in the bush. When the genin inspected it, they saw a white rabbit that looked scared to death with a kunai in the tree not an inch above its head. "Be careful Naruto Baka, you almost hurt him." Sakura's screeching almost drowned out the distinct sound of water flying through the air. Duck. The genin dragged Izuna down, while Kakashi went down too. Everyone turned to see the water dragon impact a tree and cause it to break in half. When Kakashi looked up, he really began wishing they would have taken a different mission. Standing next to his Zanbatsu was Zabuza Mamachi, the demon of the hidden mist. Just as he was about to call out who their opponent was, Naruto beat him to it. He just did it with a tone of hero worship instead of warrior fear. Zabuza Mamachi, demon of the hidden mist, a rank missing nin of Kiri, one of the 7 swordsmen, wielder of Kubikirabacho. And my hero. Everyone just looked at Naruto like he was crazy. When Naruto noticed he just rubbed the back of his head sheepishly. "Sorry, it's just, if it wasn't for you I would probably be some orange-wearing loudmouth idiot who only knows one jutsu and can't stop screaming about how I want to be Hokage. Haha." Zabuza almost laughed at the image in his head. "How did I do that? When I was 9 I found your entry from the bingo book on the street. When I read it, I decided I was gonna be just like you. But better. Ahahahahaha. Who would have thought I would inspire some snot-nosed little brat like you? If you want to be like me, then kill the bridge builder." "Sorry Zabuza but no can do. I have my mission just like you have yours." "I can respect that Gaki, only a fool would surrender his mission because an enemy asks him to. Now then Kakashi, how about we get this started?" Without warning, Zabuza started to emit his full killing intent. This proved to have the desired effect as Sakura and Izuna were on their knees and about to pass out. Sasuke was breathing heavily and contemplating suicide, while Naruto was sweating like crazy and panting slightly. Kakashi sighed knowing this was not going to be an easy fight. In response to the missing nin's killer intent, he simply released a burst of chakra. This had a calming effect on his team. Maybe this won't be too boring after all. I remember hearing that the once great Hada Kakashi hasn't seriously trained since he left the Anbu. Let's see if it's true. I shouldn't have any issues, even at my current level. Immediately Zabuza jumped onto the water and went through hand signs. Water release. Hidden mist jutsu. The mist was so thick that there was nothing you could see. The Jonin began their fight and the only one outside of Zabuza and Kakashi who had any idea what was happening was Naruto. It was just hard to concentrate with his still shaking teammate and client so close by and creating noise. It was then that he heard the sound of footsteps approaching from behind. On instinct, Naruto drew his Zanbatsu and it clashed with Zabuza's. "You're not half bad Gaki." The Zabuza dispelled into water before another one attacked from the other side. Naruto was able to block this one too. However, the force caused Naruto to drop to a knee. "If you are going to fight a Zanbatsu battle you need more strength. What are you? Chunin? Genin?" The chunin exams had occurred about 2 months after I graduated so we didn't qualify. Interesting. The Zabuza clone dispelled itself. About 30 seconds later, Zabuza allows the mist to lift, revealing him, holding Kakashi in a dome made of water. "I got your sensei now hand over the bridge builder." Naruto looked at his sensei, the blonde genin could see the anger and disappointment in the silver-haired ninja's eye. Not towards them or anyone else really, but towards himself. The smirk on Zabuza's face said it all. One of Konoha's strongest ninja was tricked. Kakashi turned to his students with more seriousness than they had ever seen. "Take the client and run. If you try and fight, you will only die." Naruto just sighed, completely ignoring their sensei's words before turning to Sasuke. "The water prison requires physical contact. All we have to do is separate his arm from the jutsu. Well then let's see him dodge this. High release. Grand fireball jutsu. Ah, you will have to do better than that." Zabuza just swings his sword into the water, causing a giant splash, big enough to extinguish the fireball. "Well then, I guess we will just have to try harder." Naruto runs to stand on the water before going through hand seals much faster than a genin should be able to. Water release. Water dragon bullet jutsu. This got a shocked expression from, not only Zabuza, but Kakashi as well. This kid is a genin and can already use a high B rank jutsu. He would be a great tool, then again that didn't work out so well last time. Okage-sama said he was good at ninjutsu, but I had no idea. The giant dragon made of water charged at Zabuza at inhuman speeds. Zabuza was forced to release Kakashi. Sasuke just stared at Naruto in anger and jealousy. Zabuza and Kakashi jumped in different directions to avoid the jutsu. However, much to Zabuza's shock, the dragon changed direction slightly and moved towards him, considerably slower than its original attack. The Gaki is probably only 13 and he has already begun elemental manipulation. Knowing he needed to stop the dragon, Zabuza blurred through several hand seals. Water release. Water encampment wall jutsu. A spinning wall of water surrounded Zabuza. After firing 4 water bullets that just burst against the wall, the dragon, too, slammed into the water wall and burst, the wall and dragon returning to the sea. Zabuza looked at Naruto with something akin to pride at being responsible for turning him from an orange-wearing loudmouth to a true shinobi. Kakashi didn't know what to feel, part of him wanted to settle on pride, but he wasn't responsible for teaching him anything, the other part was shame that he had a student with such potential and didn't even bother to find out. However, remembering the way his sensei taught him, he knew he was in the right. Konoha is nothing without teamwork. Once they can learn to fight alongside each other, then I will teach them. Without warning, Zabuza charged for Kakashi. Kakashi was able to block the blow with a kunai, but he was losing the power struggle. Water release. Gunshot jutsu. Zabuza was forced to jump back to dodge the water bullet. Kid, if you keep interfering I may have to kill you. This caused Naruto to pale slightly. Kakashi decided he was going to have to get serious if he wanted to win, lifting his headband, Kakashi was just barely able to dodge the attacks from within mist. Kakashi started going through his own hand seals. Wind release. Great breakthrough jutsu. Kakashi expels gale force winds from his mouth, dispelling the mist. Zabuza, seeing his cover gone, begins going through the hand seals for one of his favorite jutsu. However, with his Sharingan active, Kakashi is able to easily copy them. Both Kakashi and Zabuza yell out their jutsu. Water release. Water dragon bullet jutsu. 2 giant dragons made of water are formed. Zabuza's being much larger. If one were to look at both Zabuza and Kakashi, it is obvious that Kakashi's chakra is fading a lot faster than Zabuza's. Kakashi is breathing hard and a layer of sweat was falling from his forehead, while Zabuza is only breathing slightly hard. When Kakashi's water dragon is beaten, it is barely able to take Zabuza's with it. HMPF, not bad. For your water dragon to have been able to take mine out when I've mastered every aspect of elemental manipulation is damn good. Zabuza, obviously noticing Kakashi's state, begins more hand seals. I should be able to get him with the Sharingan. Kakashi immediately begins to copy the jutsu. However, he notices one big problem: Zabuza had his eyes closed. Having already built up a large amount of chakra for the jutsu, Kakashi knows the backlash of just releasing it would be worse than to just fire off the jutsu, so he just finishes the hand seals at the same time as Zabuza. Water release. Water shockwave jutsu. Around each of them, water swirls up like a tornado before coming crashing down, however, the 2 waves meet in the middle and simply raise the water level. Meanwhile, Naruto quickly grabs Tazuna and jumps into a tree, waving for the others to follow. Seeing the large amount of water, they quickly do. Now, Kakashi knows he can't do much more. Damn, I'm almost out of chakra and he still looks good shit. If only I had been able to catch him with hypnosis, he must have fought a Sharingan user before. Giving Kakashi a knowing smirk, Zabuza performs 3 short hand seals that Kakashi recognizes. Kakashi, not having the chakra for anything else, just prepares for a simple substitution. However, to both of their shock there are 2 shouts. One from Zabuza. Water release. Water fang jutsu. The other from Naruto. Water release. 5 eating sharks. Several water drills fly from the water and pierce the log that Kakashi switched with, turning it to splinters. Naruto slams his hands on the water and it doesn't take long for sharks made of water to begin jumping from the surface of the water to attack Zabuza. In a strangely acrobatic display, Zabuza spins and destroys all 5 sharks in one attack. However, his victory is short-lived when they just reform as soon as they hit the water. I hate this jutsu, as long as the user channels chakra, the sharks keep reforming. This was always Kisam's favorite jutsu. Zabuza goes through a few hand seals while dodging the water-based sharks. Zabuza slams a single hand on the water before continuing to dodge. Water release. Water demon's appetite. A large head made of water that looks like a cross between an ape and a snake emerges from beneath Naruto. He is quick to abandon his shark jutsu in favor of staying alive. However, even as he jumps away, the demon's tongue shoots from its mouth and grabs Naruto by the waist and drags the boy under. As the demon's tongue pulls Naruto down, he turns to water. Substituted with a water clone. Good work. Water release. Gunshot jutsu. Zabuza dodges the incoming water bullets. Right after the 4th passes by, the Miss Jonin raises his sword and blocks Naruto's attempt to remove his head. Meanwhile on shore. Kakashi is there, still panting and trying to figure out a way to end this fight, with none of his charges getting injured. He can't believe the amount of ninjutsu the genin knew. He knew ninjutsu specialist chunin that had not only less in number, but also less skill at using them. The thoughts of the black-haired genin are slightly darker. How is Naruto able to do all this? Is my hate not enough? Why am I so weak? The mind of the pink-haired Kunoichi are similar but different. When did Naruto get so strong? Izuna was confused. Man, this kid is great, he is able to keep up with the bad guy when the Jonin guy couldn't. But Naruto and Zabuza. They're good for your age, kid, but you have a long way to go. Let's see how your Genjutsu is. Naruto jumped back to get some room from the Jonin. Zabuza pointed Kubikirabacho at Naruto with one hand. Naruto responded by dropping into a sword stance with his legs spread wide and his sword out to the side. Obviously a defensive position. Without warning, Zabuza disappeared from the sight of everyone except Kakashi, who saw just fine, and Naruto, who saw little more than a blur. Naruto brings his sword up to block the incoming strike, but the force sends him skidding across the water for about 20 feet. I need to fight force with force, his sword weighs as much as me, add in that it is moving ridiculously fast, it is like trying to stop a freight train. Having never fought against a Zanbatsu before, this is a learning experience. Seeing Zabuza go for a diagonal slash across his chest, Naruto swings for the point of impact with as much strength as he can. When Zabuza sees Naruto's move, he smirks, not that you can see it behind the bandages. The force the two blows make cause a large ripple in the water. The fight goes on, Zabuza attacking and Naruto defending while trying to counter but being unable to. With Kakashi. Okay, I think I have enough chakra. Kakashi sprints towards the fight, going through hand seals. Lightning release. Chidori. Zabuza looks over, just in time for his eyes to be drawn to the large ball of lightning in Kakashi's hand. He's too close. Just as the lightning was about to hit Zabuza, a small ice wall appeared, Kakashi's fist punched right through the wall and just barely reached Zabuza, sending the man, convulsing in the water, his bleeding stomach dyed the water red. Before Kakashi could even take stock of the situation, a girl with black hair and brown eyes Shinshinaden grabbed Zabuza before shunshining away. Not 10 seconds after covering his gifted eye, Kakashi's only visible eye rolled into the back of his head and he passed out. He would have sunk if Naruto didn't grab him by the neck of his Jonin vest. That eye of his must take a stupid amount of chakra. He should just get used to fighting without it, it's more of a hindrance the way he is now. The three genin, one bridge builder and one unconscious Jonin, made their way to the bridge builder's home. Meanwhile in Konoha. At the north gate we see what could be an unusual sight if it didn't happen every day. Izumo complaining about being bored while Kitetsu sleeps. However, he notices three figures walking towards the village. One appears to be about 14 and has light blue hair, glasses and a very large dual-hilted sword wrapped in bandages on his back. With a Kiri forehead protector attached to his sword harness. Beside him is an older man, early 40s, his hair was a similar color to the younger boy's, but he had an eye patch on his right eye, with a standard Kiri forehead protector. However, it was the leader of the group that got their attention. She was about 5'6", long russet red hair and a top knot that reached her knees with some of her bangs covering her right eye. Her skin-tight blue dress did nothing to hide her generous curves. Her supple D-cup breasts, her long legs, her toned abs, the two chunin were blatantly staring at this point. When the three arrived at the gate, the chunin still did not snap out of their daze. The older male was about to speak when the female cut him off. Mei just smiled sweetly, maybe a little too sweetly. Konoha in. Her melodic voice sent shivers down their spines, out of fear or lust, one may never know. If you don't stop staring then I'll melt what makes you a man. Fear, definitely fear. This snapped the two chunin out of their daze. Yes, how may we help you? Ao decided to step forward before the Mizukage crushes any hope of an alliance with Konoha by killing their gate guards. Mei Terumi, here to see your Hokage. The two guards had been notified the day before about a group from Kiri to speak to the Hokage. Hi, the Anbu will escort you to the tower. As if they were reading each other's minds, a bird-masked Anbu member appeared. As they were walking through the village, Mei just sighed. In Kiri everyone thought she was hot but respected her as the Mizukage enough to not stare. Here every man stopped and stared. It was getting annoying. Even some of the females stopped to stare, some to admire the view, while others glared at her for being so beautiful. As they walked into the Hokage's office, it was almost identical to hers, except this is red while hers is blue. When Sarutobi stood to address the newcomers, he was shocked at the new Mizukage's beauty. Being the perverted old man he is, his mind went to the gutter before returning, however, not fast enough to stop the trickle of blood. When Mei saw this, she wasn't sure if she should be happy or angry, happy she could use her feminine assets to get the alliance, or mad that she was being checked out by a man in his 70s. Hokage dono Mei gave a slight bow. Mizukage dono Sarutobi returned the bow. With Team 7. Sasuke carried Kakashi since Naruto was tired, that did not stop the Uchiha from glaring angrily at Naruto. I did as he said, I should be stronger. Why am I so weak? Between Sasuke's anger and Sakura's confusion, Naruto was the only one who noticed the current state of the town. As they passed through, beggars all over the place, the food stores were nearly empty, in other words, the town was on the verge of dying out. When they arrived at Tizuna's house, it was in much better shape than the rest of the town. Since most of Tizuna's work is out of the village, he is probably the richest person in the town. However, he just spent all his money on material and protection for his bridge. Tizuna led them into the house. "Tsunami, Inari, I'm back." Almost instantly a beautiful woman appeared. She seemed to be in her mid-20s and had long black hair that held just a hint of blue. "Oh dad, I was so worried about you." Tsunami gives her dad a hug. Then Inari, a rather depressed-looking brown-haired boy, comes down the stairs and gives Tizuna a hug before heading back up to his room. "Excuse me, Tsunami-san. Do you have somewhere we can put our sensei while he recovers?" The now identified Tsunami leads them to another room with several futons in it. Sasuke lays Kakashi on the mat and closes the door as he leaves. They all decided to get some sleep after such a long journey. 3 days later. Naruto is sitting cross-legged on the water. He is trying to use his chakra to force the water into a whirlpool. He was practicing water nature manipulation. When Kakashi said he was gonna start teaching tree climbing, he was happy. However, he was happy that he knew the training method already. He even knew the more advanced level. Unfortunately, the Jonin refused to teach him anything else until the whole team knew it. That led to him working on his own training. Kakashi had also called in a request for backup. It arrived in the form of an Anbu member named Yamato. Since then he has spent the last 3 days practicing water elemental manipulation, only returning in the evening to sleep. Currently, Naruto is sitting on the water while trying to create a whirlpool around him using only his chakra. He had already finished the first step of creating a small one with his hand. Naruto reaches for the hilt of his sword, only to immediately regret leaving his sword with his shirt on shore. "To what do I owe the honors, Zabuza? I have got to say that you are really advanced for a genin." In Konoha. Mei was stressed. Both her and the Hokage had agreed to the terms of an alliance. However, the fire daimyo had to get involved and was nervous about being backstabbed. She couldn't really blame him with Kiri's bloody past. After speaking with the water daimyo, they both agreed that this would be a blood alliance. That means that they need to agree to an arranged marriage. Well, that wouldn't be too big of a deal. She isn't positive of who she can trust with this. The bloodline clans are still mad about the bloodline massacre, as it is now called, and could use the pull to take their revenge. Well, she is not sure if she can trust the non-bloodline clans not to use their pull to organize another civil war. After 2 days of talking about it, she had yet to decide who could become the aspect of a blood alliance. However, it didn't take long for Sarutobi to come up with an idea for his own candidate. The old Kage frowned in thought before an overwhelming smile reached his face and eyes. The like had not been seen on the face of Sarutobi since the birth of his grandson. "I know you are still in deliberation, but I have just the man. He is the heir to one of the strongest clans to ever come from Konoha." However, the clan actually originated from Water Country. The Water Daimyo's representative spoke up. "On that matter, we shall break for 2 weeks to allow you each to pick and converse with your advisors." In wave. Naruto's hand was still raised over his head, where the hilt of his sword would be. When he turned to Zabuza, he was surprised to see no Kubikirabacho. "I'm not here to fight Gaki, I'm here to talk. I told you once, even though I don't hold much love for Konoha, I won't betray it." Zabuza just sat down on a log and indicated for the genin to sit across from him. Hesitating slightly, Naruto can feel no ill intent coming from Zabuza. He sighs, "Everything I ever learned tells me I should try and distract him and get back to my teammates. But I think I will listen to what he has to say either way. This is not a good idea." Naruto, now sitting across from Zabuza, waiting. "I want your help, Gaki. I already told you I want." I know, that has nothing to do with this. You saw my accomplice." When Naruto nods, he continues. "Her name is Haku. She thinks I only see her as a tool, a weapon to be wielded until I don't need it anymore." She couldn't be more wrong. When I first picked her up, she was starving. She had killed her father in self-defense when he discovered that she had a bloodline and tried to kill her. When I saw the loyalty I could get from her, I took her in with the reason of her becoming my tool. However, the longer I spent traveling with her, the closer I found myself to her. I began to see her as my own daughter. I started treating her better, I was kinder, the whole 9 yards. Then, I almost lost her. A bounty hunter came after me. I never got his name, but no matter what I cut off, strings would reattach it." Zabuza shuddered slightly at remembering the money-crazed bounty hunter. "This guy was out of my league. He made the Mizukage look like an everyday chunin. He could use all 5 elements with the use of these mask things on his back. I managed to cut one of the masks in half, and he got furious. He combined his fire and wind jutsu to make a huge stream of fire. I was unable to dodge. As it was about to hit me, Haku pushed me out of the way and took the attack. In my shock I yelled out her name and fear she was dead. However, she used her bloodline to save herself. However, with my outburst, Kakuzu knew I cared for her. He started targeting her. We managed to escape when some weird guy in a Venus flytrap showed up to talk to him. After that I got cold again. I tried to force myself to view her as a tool, but it wouldn't happen. I treat her like a tool, but think of her as a daughter. Why share this with me? I could use it against you. You could, but I don't think you would. Okay, so, what do you want from me? I want you to make sure she lives. Naruto gets a confused look. I know I can beat Kakashi, but Kakashi and the backup he called I don't know. Haku has a bad tendency of saving my life and having it almost cost hers. I don't think I could forgive myself if she gave her life for me here. Zabuza handed 2 scrolls to Naruto. That one is for you, it's how you improve your silent killing jutsu, the other is for Haku if I don't make it. Naruto nodded. I'll be attacking in 4 days. That is the least I can give you as long as you keep your end of the deal. Naruto nodded again. With his piece said, Zabuza walks away. One condition. Zabuza stops to look at the young blonde, waiting for the boy's proposition. I want you to agree that you won't go after the bridge builder until we're all dead. Zabuza looked at him, staring into his eyes before nodded and walking away. In Konoha. Mei was still unsure of what to do. Maybe I should just do it. No, I can't do that to him, I promised I would wait for him. Damn it, I only have 1 more week to figure it out. Ao could only watch sadly as his leader was stuck between doing what is right for her village and what is right for her heart. In Wave. For the next 3 days, Naruto spent all his time training alone, with an occasional visit from Yamato, a man that seemed to be Kakashi's friend, though even he expressed his disappointment in Kakashi's continuation of the mission. He had taken over the training of Team 7. He gave Naruto tips for nature manipulation, helped Sakura with her small reserves, and he taught Sasuke a couple ninjutsu. Overall, he did more for Team 7 in 3 days than Kakashi did in 5 months. In Kakashi's defense, he was a firm believer in teamwork and the current team didn't have any. Naruto had advanced slightly on his water manipulation and his silent killing, but there was only so much he could learn in 3 days. Finally, the day of the attack is here. Naruto had considered informing the others but decided against it since it could be viewed as traitorous to be conversing with the enemy. However, without the knowledge of the others, he made several shadow water clones to protect the house. They were like shadow clones since they have their own chakra networks but took less chakra since they have a medium. However, the medium stops them from sending the memory back to the original. They can perform ninjutsu but only of their element. When the 5 ninja arrived at the bridge, they saw that all the workers were either unconscious or dead. Chapter 4. Battle on the bridge. Kiri's much-needed alliance. Overlooking the unconscious workers, Sakura paled and began wishing she wasn't there. Sasuke was excited about fighting a strong opponent, even if in the back of his mind he knows that he is no match for Zabuza. Not that he will ever admit that to himself or anyone else. Naruto was slightly somber at what could happen that day. A girl could lose her father. Kakashi was worried about his genin. The Konoha were greeted with a sight that they really did not want to see. In front of them was Zabuza, Haku, and, surprisingly, the demon brothers. As if a silent conversation went on between Naruto, Sasuke and Yamato, it was decided that Kakashi and Yamato would fight Zabuza, Naruto would take Haku, and Sasuke would fight the demon brothers. The demon brothers charged straight ahead, only to be intercepted by Sasuke. Lightning release. Lightning ball jutsu. The demon brothers separated to avoid the jutsu. With Sasuke's new control over his chakra, he is able to channel it into his legs better, making him much faster than before. The demon brothers, not having been expecting this, were thrown off by his increase in speed. He still faced the same problem as before, but to a lesser degree. He rectified that by wearing steel-plated gloves that Kakashi had given him. They were leather gloves with a steel plate over the hand and knuckles. With Naruto. Well then, Haku, should we take this elsewhere and allow the adults to play? Without waiting for a response, he left via mist shunshin, while leaving a very noticeable chakra trail for the girl to follow to the other end of the bridge. Haku glanced at her master, he just gave her a nod as if he didn't care. She pursued the blonde-haired genin. The chase ended at the very edge of the bridge. Waiting for her was the blonde genin who was able to fight Zabuza, even if her master wasn't trying that hard. So, you're Zabuza's apprentice. Haku, having never had a fight where neither party wanted to fight, just shook her head no. I am his tool to be used when he wants and how he wants, I follow his every order. Naruto just quirked his eyebrow. But already expecting something along those lines. That doesn't sound fun at all. Haku drew a senbon with each hand. It doesn't need to be, I owe Zabuza-sama my life, now, fight or die. Haku charged at speeds rivaling most high chunin. She wanted to end this fight fast because her master was fighting two Konoha jonin. He may need her help. She began a brutally vicious attack. If not for Naruto's borderline insane training regimen, he was sure he would already have lost. Luckily, his large sword enabled him to block both her left and right hands, which were wielding senbon needles with deadly accuracy. Every time Naruto attempts a counter, his attack is dodged with more grace than even the legendary Hyuga clan. Naruto, tired of being on the defensive, decided he would turn it up. The next strike came from Haku's left hand. It was going straight for Naruto's heart. However, this is exactly what he wanted. Instead of just blocking the strike, he put force behind it. When the flat side of the Zanbatsu hit Haku's hand, she cried out in pain over her now bruised, possibly broken hand. In an attempt to knock her out quick, Naruto goes through the hand seals for his favorite water ninjutsu outside of the hidden mist jutsu. Water release. Water dragon missile jutsu. The giant dragon, larger than either Zabuza's or Kakashi's had been, was formed. Instead of shooting water bullets, it charged straight at Haku. Just as the dragon was about to slam into her, a small ice mirror was created. Though the mirror was cracked, it still held the water dragon in place until it dispersed. After rubbing some of the pain in her hand away, Haku just stares impassively at Naruto. It appears it is time to end this. Indeed it does. They both begin to go through hand seals. Ice release. Demonic ice mirror jutsu. Naruto watches as mirrors made of ice appear around him. He gets even more interested when Haku steps into the one mirror and she is displayed on all of them. This is a very interesting jutsu. Now I will show you a jutsu I created 2 years ago, on accident. Water release. Choking fog jutsu. Mist surrounds Naruto and the mirrors, much like it would for the hidden mist jutsu. However, Haku noticed one thing. This mist, it is thick. Very thick. Cough, interesting. Yes, it is the only jutsu I ever made. Flashback 1 year after turning serious. Naruto Uzumaki, the demon brat of Konoha, was panting while staring at his sensei, Iruka. He had been trying to get his first water ninjutsu. It would be his first step to becoming like Zabuza. He had spent the last year increasing his strength, speed and chakra control. Now it is time for Taijutsu, Ninjutsu, and Genjutsu training. Naruto, you need to use less chakra. You can already do both the tree climbing and the water walking, but you need to improve your control more. Naruto gave a determined nod. He wouldn't fail. Okay. Water release. Hidden mist jutsu. Suddenly, water from the stream they were standing on began to form a mist. The mist got to the point of not being able to see anything around you, but it just kept getting thicker. As Iruka was standing there, he found himself really impressed. The Hokage just showed him the jutsu 2 days ago, and he can already do it. As Iruka stood there with a proud smile on his face. Iruka found himself having some trouble breathing. After several minutes he was ready to run out of the mist when Naruto heard his sensei's labored breathing and he cancelled the jutsu. When the mist cleared, Iruka took a deep, haggard breath of the dry air. What was that? Then flashback. But the jonin. Zabuza was just staring down the two Konoha jonin. It was well known that while Kakashi was once one of the strongest jonin, he had fallen into depression with the death of his sensei. Now, he is at best, an average jonin in skill. The part that worried him was that Kakashi was never known to be a powerhouse. He combined his power with knowledge. If his brain didn't dull, then the fight could get ugly. However, the way Konoha's backup jonin was standing. It reminded Zabuza of himself. He was sure Kakashi would be easy to take out. It was this new jonin he was worried about. I know Kakashi, but you, not so much. How about an introduction? I am Yamato. After Zabuza waited for a few seconds for him to continue and he didn't. Zabuza shrugged. Without further delay, Zabuza went through the hand seals for his most famous jutsu. Water release. Hidden mist jutsu. A mist began to surround the three and Kakashi finally put away his book. While Yamato drew a kunai in each hand. Zabuza decided to try and mess with their heads. So, who wants to die first? Yamato spun and blocked the large Zanbatsu with his kunai. The force sent him skidding back. Before he could retaliate, Zabuza disappeared back into the mist. Kakashi yawned as this was going on. Bored? Well then let's liven it up. Using the skills of an elite jonin, Zabuza goes through hand seals and thinks his next jutsu. Water release. Water clone jutsu. 9 water clones appear, not that Kakashi and Yamato know. 2 clones and the original begin targeting Kakashi, while 7 go after Yamato. Yamato was standing in the thick mist in a defensive position. It was only years of experience that allowed him to notice Zabuza attack from his right. He was able to block the large Zanbatsu. He noticed it was considerably weaker than the last. Clone. Just as he was about to destroy the clone, he was forced to duck under a swing from his right side. By the time he regained his bearings, both clones had already disappeared into the mist. That was how Yamato's fight went, he would block or dodge, and before he could retaliate against the clone, another one would come to its rescue. But Kakashi, using the precognition of the Sharingan, dodged under the sword and was able to score a hit and dispel the clone. However, could already feel the drain from his implanted eye, and it had only been 10 minutes. While Kakashi was mentally celebrating, he missed the clone coming up behind him. As the clone's sword was aiming to cut Kakashi down the middle, Kakashi, Zabuza and his clones all heard Yamato's shout. Earth release. Rising stone spears jutsu. The spears made of earth killed 3 clones, one of which was about to kill Kakashi, however, there was too much delay and he received a shallow cut across his back. Ah! Nearly everyone on the bridge heard Kakashi's cries of pain. But Sakura and Izuna. I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die. This was the thought shared by Sakura and Izuna. But Sasuke was forced to use every trick in his book to continue avoiding the demon brothers' coordinated assaults. As Sasuke avoided the next attack from the clawed nin, he mistook the distance the second brother was from him and received a shallow cut on his shoulder. This wouldn't be so bad if it wasn't for the poison he could already feel messing with his nervous system. Water release. Gunshot jutsu. Sasuke didn't get the chance to come up with a plan because he was forced to dodge the incoming water bullets. Having dodged in the direction away from both brothers gave him some breathing room. High release. Phoenix fire jutsu. Sasuke spits out 3 fireballs at each brother, they both dodge the first 2, but the younger brother is unable to dodge the last one, it hits his leg, causing him to scream out as the small fireball burns through his flesh. Seeing the missed nin state, Sasuke knows he needs to take advantage of it. Whipping out a kunai and throwing it as hard as he can, he impales the brother in the neck. Sasuke, in the shock of his first kill just stops and watches as the life leaves the missed nin's eyes. I just killed someone. His slightly worried thoughts change quicker than most. You see that Itachi, that will be you one day. His musings caused him to let his guard down. That led to his current predicament. He received a foot to the face by an angry older brother. As he was able to right himself, he saw a kunai flying through the air and to him it looked like everything began slowing down, from the waves in the water to the kunai, aiming to impale his head. For some reason, Sasuke could tell that the missed nin was about to jump to the right, so taking into account for it. While in midair, Sasuke rolled just enough to avoid the incoming kunai and grabbed it before tossing it at the missed nin who was in the middle of a jump and unable to dodge. Not being ready for the genin to dodge what he was sure was a sure kill, he wasn't able to do more than watch as the kunai entered his chest and into his heart. The last thing he saw before dying was the cold red and black eyes of the Sharingan. Sasuke, having used up most of his chakra fighting off the 2 missed nin, promptly passed out from chakra exhaustion. With Naruto and Haku. Haku's breathing has become very labored to the point of panting. Her lungs being forced to sort through chakra-enhanced mist. Not to mention her mirror jutsu requiring a lot of chakra as well. Normally she is good for about 40 minutes, however, it has only been 15 and she felt as though she was about to pass out from chakra exhaustion. Being forced to dodge constant high-level ninjutsu doesn't help. Naruto stood in the center of the mirrors. Several senbon sticking out of his arms and back. He is beginning to look something like a pincushion. Unfortunately, many of the needles were making moving his upper body difficult. Seeing Naruto's weakened state, Haku gets a tear in her eye. Zabuza-sama always told me to use anything, but this for my first kill would be an insult. I just wish it hadn't been you. I believe we could have been friends. Drawing up the sleeve to her kimono, she revealed a small tattoo. It was kanji of something, but from the distance he was unable to read it. No smoke, no flash, nothing, suddenly in Haku's hand was a long thin sword, it only took him an instant to recognize it. That's Nuibari, one of the 7 but that was lost. Zabuza-sama liberated Nuibari from Kusa, who was responsible for the death of Kushimaru. At first he was reluctant to allow me to keep it out of fear of my losing it, but he said it fit my style too well. I'm sorry you will be the first to be pierced. Now Naruto was shocked. He couldn't stop himself from smiling tiredly. Now things get fun. This ends now. I mustn't fail Zabuza-sama. Haku puts all her strength into attacking. I am almost out of chakra, if this fails then I lose. I will not fail Zabuza-sama. She moves at speed so great that Naruto can barely even see a blur. Instinctively, he raises his zanbatsu to block the incoming sword strike. With her last burst of strength, she stabbed the strange sword at Naruto. The next 2 seconds are 2 seconds of his life he will forever remember. Cling cling cling. The force of the ice wielder's thrust sent Naruto to his back, however, that was not what shocked him, in his hand was the hilt to his sword, with only a jagged inch of blade attached. Her sword stabbed right through it. How? The broken sword was not all he received, just above where his heart was, a small wire sat, unmoving. Blood ran freely, using the wire as a guide. So, this is it, this is how I die. However, fate it seemed decided to intervene. Just like that, the once unbreakable mirrors that surrounded the two exhausted nin began to crack before shattering and returning to their original form of water. Naruto's mist had already begun to clear up. He saw that Haku was fighting with unconsciousness and barely winning. Just as he was about to speak, everyone still conscious on the bridge heard what sounded like birds chirping. With Yamato. After killing several clones, it became much easier for Yamato, he was able to defend and was even killing some of the clones before they were able to retreat into the mist. He noticed the real Zabuza must be fighting Kakashi if the sounds of the battle were anything to go by. With Kakashi. After Kakashi had quickly destroyed the clones, he was attacked by the real Zabuza. If it wasn't for his transplanted eye, he would have died at the beginning of the battle. Kakashi wouldn't admit it, but the only reason he was even alive was because Zabuza hadn't fully healed yet. He could still see the small amount lightning chakra in his system. This would mess up his chakra control and reaction time. Dodging another swing from the giant Zanbatsu, and Kakashi was beginning to realize how much chakra he had wasted so far. He was running on empty. Kakashi was able to come up with a plan. Summoning. Earth release. Tracking Fang Jutsu. The cloud of smoke was the only warning for Zabuza when several dogs latched onto him, one on each arm and leg and a large bulldog on his shoulder. He ran through the hand seals for his only original jutsu. Now, I will show you what I can do when I don't copy my jutsu, this is the only jutsu I ever made. Looks like this is the end for you, Zabuza. Lighting release. Chidori. With Naruto and Haku. When Haku looked up to see the source of the very loud noise, she saw her master, held down with several dogs. That was not what worried her, she had seen her master in worse positions. What worried her was the Konoha Jonin charging up an insane amount of lightning chakra in his hand. So much in fact that it was visible. I must save Zabuza-sama. Using chakra she didn't have, she began sprinting towards her master. She never even noticed that her tired and bleeding enemy had dangerously removed the wire and was running about 6 feet behind her and slowly gaining. But Zabuza. So, this is how I die. Take care of Haku-chan Gaki. Expecting one set of footsteps, Zabuza raised his head when he heard at least 3. He saw Kakashi charging at him to kill him. However, what he saw next scared him. Haku was charging with a determined and resolute expression on her face, nuibari in hand. She was about to die to save him. At that moment Zabuza's struggling began anew. When he saw that Kakashi and Haku would both meet at the same time, he wanted to cry out in anger. Less than a second before Kakashi's jutsu hit. Haku, Zabuza and Kakashi all heard a shout. Water release. Water whip jutsu. Just as Haku was about to place herself between Kakashi's jutsu and Zabuza's body, a whip made of water wrapped around her waist. She wouldn't let that keep her from saving her master. Her iron will to save Zabuza gave her the power needed to push that little bit further and through nuibari, stabbing the copy nin in the wrist, effectively weakening the dangerous lightning jutsu. However, Kakashi proved just why he was an elite jonin, pushing through the pain, the jonin shoved his hand, slightly covered in lightning about an inch into Zabuza's stomach. Zabuza found himself in more pain than ever before. However, he didn't care, he could see a healthy Haku staring down at him with worry and regret in her eyes. Even through the pain, he was able to speak. Thank you for saving her Gaki. I told you I would, Zabuza. This statement brought Haku from her worry. Then she figured it out. He had been acting very familiar with her, almost as though he knew her. He was making sure I lived. But why? Seeing the confused look on Haku's face, he decided to inform her. 4 days ago, he came to me and asked that I make sure you. Naruto was interrupted by clapping. When the conscious ninja all turned, they saw what must have been 100 thugs and bandits surrounding a short man in a suit holding a cane. I would like to thank you Konoha-nin for taking care of Zabuza for me. Too bad you won't live too long. Zabuza in his weakened state could only lie there, seething in anger. I never had any intention of paying the so-called demon of the bloody mist, it's more like kitten of the bloody mist kill all the nin. I'm sure the Konoha-nin have bounties I can collect also. Haku, hearing what the short fat businessman said, just turned to the Konoha-nin. We are no longer enemies. This will hurt and I apologize. Without another word, the black-haired Kunoichi ripped nuibari from the Konoha Jonin's hand, causing Kakashi to cry out. Legendary sword in hand, Haku glared towards her new enemies. You will not survive this Gato. She charged at the thugs with a resolve to kill. Something she had never had before. She was ready to kill every thug, she would then take Gato's head to Zabuza. Even with all the adrenaline in the world, it still didn't make up for the fact that not 5 minutes ago, she had fought the hardest fight of her life. She had made at least a dozen bundles of bandits when her exhaustion began to catch up to her. She noticed a thug shoot an arrow aimed right at her heart. Normally a civilian shot arrow wouldn't be any trouble to dodge, but her vision had begun to blur and her body wasn't responding. Just as the arrow is going to end her life, she hears a noise that returns some of her energy. Ping. There in front of her is her once enemy and now apparent ally. That is not what shocked her the most though. In his hands is Kubikirabacho, Zabuza's sword. I think Zabuza deserves to see Gato's head. Naruto couldn't help but feel empowered by the sword in his hands. Naruto had wasted no time at all when Zabuza told him to take it and savor her, now the blade seemed to be vibrating. It seemed incredibly happy. It seemed that just being in his presence brought her strength. The two began a deadly dance, both covering the other's blind spots. Gato watched as two teens destroyed his army in completely opposite ways, one with grace, finesse and effectiveness, the other with raw, uninhibited power. By the time that the last thug was dealt with, Gato was looking at them with fear. Seeing the beautiful, bloody, and deadly dance, he was literally scared shitless. Please, I'll give you anything you want, just don't hurt me. Please. If one were to look at either Haku or Naruto at the moment, it would be like looking into the eyes of demons. Both faces not showing a hint of remorse for the acts committed, blood covering their bodies, swords poised to take one more life. Without a second thought, they both drew their swords back, Kubikirabacho removing the head while Nuibari pierced every vital organ in the man's torso, faster than even Naruto could see. With their deed done, they allowed their exhaustion to catch up to them and passed out, not even noticing the crowd of townsfolk who just watched the massacre. None of the others on the bridge are sure what to think. Several emotions go through their heads. Fear, disgust, even remorse. However, the strongest of all is elation that Gato is dead. Slowly, one by one, the villagers begin to clap and cheer for the ones who freed them from Gato's rule. It was 2 days later and Naruto was just waking up, his body still wanting to sleep, he just kept his eyes closed in hope of returning to dreamland. However, his sensitive ears barely pick up a noise next to him. That almost sounds like someone crying. Naruto opens his eyes and quickly forces them closed. Even with a giant 9-tailed chakra battery in his gut, he still got chakra exhaustion, and it still sucked. His head was throbbing, he was burning up, and he felt as if he hadn't eaten in a month, but he was still going to vomit. Just as he was about to force himself back to sleep, in hopes of sleeping through the worst of it, that noise was back. It sounds like a girl, and she sounds hurt. Naruto managed to force his eyes open, and slowly, his vision went from triple, back to regular. That was when he saw her, and that was when it all came back to him. I killed them all, I didn't even care, I truly am a demon. Naruto wiped his tears away when he heard Haku let out a sob that shook her body. Slowly, he reached his hand out and shook her shoulder gently. At first nothing happened, and then he shook her harder, and her eyes flew open, and she attempted to hit him before she broke out in a fit of coughs. Naruto just awkwardly rubbed her back. The second she locked eyes with him, it all came back, the slaughter, the limbs, the blood. It scarred her. However, what she noticed most was that the young man in front of her seemed to be feeling the same pain, she could see it in his eyes. Without delay, she latched onto his shirt and started crying her eyes out. He wasn't able to understand most of her words, they seemed to all say the same thing, I'm sorry and I'm such a monster. After whispering encouraging words in her ear for nearly an hour, they both fell asleep in each other's arms. Naruto never noticed that his shoulder wasn't the only one that was wet. Neither dreamed or thought of their deed all night. The next morning, Naruto woke up after the best sleep he had ever gotten. Taking a deep breath through his nose, his sense of smell was assaulted with what had to be the most intoxicating thing he had ever smelled. It almost smells like crisp clean water, no, like winter, the first day it snows. Naruto can't help but sigh in content as he snuggles deeper into his delicious smelling pillow. Naruto was surprised, no bewildered when his pillow gave off a content moan when he snuggled deeper into it. Do pillows make noise? Last time I checked they didn't. What happened yesterday? In a flash, the night before went through his head. Naruto did everything he could to control his erratic heartbeat. I can see it now, 12-year-old ninja dies by heart attack during first encounter with the opposite sex. It sounds better than 12-year-old genin killed by demon of the hidden mist for spooning with his daughter. The thought that he was in fact spooning with Haku made his face redder and his heart even more out of control. When Naruto opened his eyes for the first time, all he could see was black. Haku's hair was released from the bun and was spread all over him. He couldn't stop himself from inhaling the intoxicating scent one more time before removing himself from the bed as silently as he could. Naruto was awful proud that he was able to get out of bed without waking her. His moment of glory ended as he put on new pair of pants and heard a long yawn accompanied by the shifting of the bed. When he looked over, his normal colored face went straight past pink and hit tomato red. He was sure that Hinata would be proud. Haku sat up, letting out a long, loud yawn as she stretched out her stiff muscles. However, that wasn't what caught his eye. She sat there in nothing but her chest bindings and a pair of very short shorts. The perverted thoughts going through his head would have done a certain white-haired sage proud. Without even realizing what he was doing, Naruto shoved the shirt he was about to put on into her hands. That was when Haku noticed she wasn't alone. But standing in her room was the blonde boy from the night before. He had his eyes firmly shut, but she was sure she kept seeing one open. Looking at the shirt in her hands, she was confused until a cool breeze told her all she needed to know. With a red face, she quickly put the shirt on. "You can open your eyes now." What Naruto opened his eyes to, what was easily the sexiest thing he had ever seen. Haku stood in front of him, her hair all a mess, a sleepy smile on her face, and wearing nothing but his shirt and her underwear. This was easily 100x better than anything he had seen when he stole Sarutobi-sensei's Icha. Naruto broke the uncomfortable silence. Sorry about last night." Haku just shook it off. "Don't be, after the battle, I was feeling very unsure of myself. In all the years I traveled with Zabuza-sama, I never once had to kill, I was always able to knock out my opponent, it was quite the mental shock." Naruto nodded in understanding. Naruto was about to speak when the door was opened. "So, you're both awake." Naruto looked at Zabuza with a slight amount of fear, praying the man didn't kill him. Seeing the fear in the blonde's eyes, Zabuza snorted. "DCH. You two should eat something, it will help with the nausea." Without another word, the tall, muscled swordsman left the room. Both teens were blushing up a storm as they got dressed, Naruto grabbing a pair of his pants for Haku, since she didn't have any that weren't covered in blood. He got a meek thanks in return. "So, Haku, what do you want to eat?" Haku had a light blush on her cheeks. Even if it was just because they both needed food to heal, it still sort of felt like a date. Something she had always been interested in, but never experienced. Some zarusoba sounds good, it is rather warm today." A confused expression overcame Naruto's face. "Zarusoba?" Haku gave a gentle nod. "Yeah, it is a cold noodle dish, it's great for a warm day." With nod, the two headed out, in search of a soba stand. The two had been awkwardly walking for 10 minutes when Haku spoke up. "Sorry about your sword." A slight grin made its way onto Naruto's face. "Are you kidding? My sword got broken by the nuibari. I don't think there is a more honorable way for a sword to go." The giggle left Haku's lips. Just like that, the tension was broken. The two spent the day getting to know each other better. They shared everything. Haku told Naruto about her father's betrayal and how she was found by Zabuza, and Naruto told Haku how he was the village pariah, how he had been a complete dipshit until that fateful day 3 years ago. He also told her that he had people he truly cared for in the Hokage in Naruto. After eating, the two found themselves walking around the reborn town, just talking and killing time. Soon, the two found themselves at the beach, the two sat down and talked for a few more hours until the sun began to set. The next morning found Naruto and Haku getting a rather rude awakening. The two had fallen asleep on the beach, and the cool night air had them both searching for warmth they found in the arm of the other. Water release. Wild water wave Justu. A surge of water literally picked the two up before dropping them. In an impressive display, Haku recovered before hitting the ground and landed in a crouch, prepared for battle. Naruto wasn't quite so graceful and landed in a heap. However, a kunai was already in his hand. "You two may be strong, but you still have a lot of work to do." Naruto and Haku looked over, only to see Zabuza standing in front of the rising sun, the orange light giving the man a demonic glow. The two teens could only look to the other and gulp. For the rest of Naruto's time in Wave, Haku and Naruto had spent nearly all of their time together, mostly training and trying different techniques, but occasionally just sitting by the water and watching the sunset or going out to eat. Both were surprised by the tenacity that Zabuza's training held. He allowed them very few breaks, and he was being especially brutal to Naruto. Even through the brutality, Naruto was able to see the care in Zabuza's eyes every time he looked at Haku. It was rather depressing to know that he would probably never see the two after this mission. That became apparent when Naruto popped the question. "Haku, why don't you and Zabuza come to Konoha?" Haku gripped Naruto's hand tighter. "I wish we could, but me and Zabuza-sama are missing Nin, just being in Konoha and not being arrested could lead to war." Naruto already knew that, but he had to try. He settled for wrapping an arm around her shoulders and she leaned into his chest. 1 week later and the Konoha Nin are at the end of the bridge, preparing to leave. The villagers were there, along with Haku and Zabuza. Haku still has several bandages along her arms and stomach from where the thugs and Naruto had gotten shallow cuts on her, and Zabuza who had his whole torso wrapped up. They decided to stay in the village and rest before moving on. Haku, who was slightly blushing, stepped forward. "Goodbye, Naruto-kun. I'm going to miss you." With godlike speed, her face moved in and out so quick Naruto was left speechless. It didn't take long for Haku to run away from the bridge with a big smile and blush on her face. Naruto just stood there dumbstruck. His face gradually getting redder. As his hand hesitantly went to his lips. She kissed me. Goodbye everyone. Hey Gaki, before you go, here. To the shock of all the Konoha nin and even more so, Naruto. Zabuza pulled Kubikirabacho from his back and stabbed it into the ground before turning around to walk away. She chose you. With that, he walked away. Never looking back to see the dumbstruck face of one Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto tentatively reached for the Blade of Legends. Said to be one of the sharpest swords in the world, second only to the Kiba, able regrow and resharpen by absorbing the iron from the blood of those it slays. He can't help but marvel at the craftsmanship. The second his hand wrapped around the hilt, he couldn't help but notice that the blade seemed to shiver in anticipation. Unfortunately the moment was ruined by his teammate. Let's go Blondie, this place bores me. Secretly, Sasuke is seething. How is he so strong? Naruto just follows behind his team. Muttering about stuck-up Uchihas with sticks in their asses. The trip back to Konoha was much faster than the trip to Wave. With no civilians to slow them down, the ninja could tree hop. It only took them 8 hours to return home. However, back in Konoha, those 8 hours were rather interesting for an old cage. Hokage's office. Sarutobi watched as a woman he had come to learn of as fiery and determined. In fact she reminded him of a flirty Kushina. However, now she appeared to have become dead inside. In the kindest tone he could, Sarutobi decided to get to the bottom of her issue. Have you come to a decision? Her blank stare unnerved him slightly. Yes, I will wed Naruto in order to form the alliance. You seem to have problems with the arrangement, would you like to talk about it? No. Okay then. He should be finishing with his mission and returning. I still love him. Smiling internally at his victory. Love who? My dear. He was my fiancé, but he just had to try and do everything by himself. Him and the other swordsmen were the first to learn of the purges. Yagura wanted their backing. If he had them backing him, then the rest of Kiri would have no problem believing it was truly for the best. Believe it or not, the 7 swordsmen hold more sway with the people than the Mizukage. Tears slowly fell from her eyes. He never even told me in person. I found a note by my bed the next morning. He knew that if he told me in person, I would have joined him. We probably would have either won or died together. The note told me everything, how Yagura had wanted to exterminate everyone with a bloodline, and how if things went according to plan, then he would be the new Mizukage. It didn't take long for his once respected and feared name to be dragged through the mud. Who was it? Her tear-streamed face looked into the comforting eyes of Sarutobi. Zabuza Mamachi, the second seat in the 7 swordsmen. Of Team 7. As soon as the 3 genin and 2 jonin landed in front of the check-in station, the guards immediately took note that Naruto was there. We were told to tell your team that Naruto Uzumaki is needed immediately by the recognize his sword, eyes go wide, Hokage, and the others will report first thing tomorrow. Acting like he didn't notice the shock on both Chunin's faces, Naruto just goes on. Thanks Izumo. Have fun with guard duty. The Chunin was still too shocked to say anything to the barb. When Naruto arrived at the tower, he was expecting a lot of things. Maybe Yamato had sent word that he had Zabuza's sword and Sarutobi-sensei wanted to warn him about keeping it out in the open. Maybe he wanted to make sure he was doing okay after what happened on the bridge, or he could just want to congratulate him on his first real mission. However, the following meeting never crossed his mind as a possibility. Naruto-kun, I would like to introduce you to Mei Terumi. Nice to meet you Mei-san. Allow me to finish Naruto-kun, this is Mei Terumi, the 5th Mizukage. Naruto's eyes went wide. Mizukage. Does she was Zabuza's sword back? Or maybe she wants me to lead her to him so she can send hunter nin teams after him. It was at this moment that Mei noticed the sword on his back. One that only 3 people have wielded since its creation and one had been dead for nearly 50 years. Seeing the sword wielded by the man she loved and has not seen in almost 10 years was a shock to her system. He must have died. The thought of this genin carrying her lover's sword around like a trophy infuriated her. Alliance or not, she charged and the unprepared genin. I'll kill you. How dare you? All the while tears falling for her dead lover. As soon as he noticed the sword, Sarutobi was expecting something like this. However, much to Mei's shock, young Naruto blocked the attack with the flat side of the blade, the same manner that Zabuza would. However, instead of making her angrier, it made her even more saddened at the thought of never seeing him again. Without delay, the Mizukage turned and ran, leaping from the window in an attempt to escape the pain. Landing on a nearby rooftop. She sprinted to the forest. Naruto, still holding his new sword in a defensive position, was confused. What the hell was that old man? Why did the Mizukage just try and kill me? Sarutobi sighed. Well, at one point in time, Zabuza was her fiancé. I believe you practically confirming his death by having his sword was too painful. Zabuza is not dead. Old Sarutobi's eyes went wide. But, you have his sword. Cocking his head to the side in a confused manner, Naruto replied. I have no idea what that was about. Long story short, Zabuza was against us on this mission and he was injured with my sword being destroyed. I used his sword when we teamed up when we left, all he said was she chose you. I tried to get an answer, but he was already gone. Sarutobi smiled bright once more. Well, then. You should go tell her so that an international incident isn't started. Yeah, but she will probably try to kill me again. The Hokage shrugged. Probably, but I would open the conversation with Zabuza isn't dead. Call me a foolish old man, but I wouldn't want to be on her bad side. You wish me luck. Taking a deep breath, Naruto went the same direction out the window. Good luck Naruto, you're going to need it. It didn't take long for Naruto to track down the emotionally drained Mei. Taking a deep breath he was about to enter the clearing. However, he was interrupted. Leave. But. I said leave. Zabuza is alive. If you don't wait a minute, alive. Seeing hope and happiness in her only visible but still stunning jade eye, put a smile on his face. Yeah, he won't be doing any cardio anytime soon, but he's alive. Where is he? At first he wasn't going to tell her, seeing as the man is still wanted. Why should I? You would probably just have him executed for trying to kill the fourth. He was not ready for her to move as fast as she could and grab him by the shirt. Nor was he ready for what she said next. If you don't tell me where my fiancé is. She continued on with her threat, but Naruto was too shocked to listen. And then I'll. Fiancé? Yes, fiancé. Now, where is he? Naruto closed his eyes. She seemed genuinely happy about him being alive. Naruto looked down and thought. I will agree, however I wanted added as a term of the alliance that he will not be attacked without provocation. Agreed, now where is he? Wave, he was in Wave when we left. Before he knew what was happening, he found himself on the ground and no sign of the Mizukage. 6 days later and Naruto was still a wreck, not to mention he learned that he was being offered to Kiri for marriage. After he learned of that, needless to say, he avoided the Kiri party, especially the Mizukage who returned 4 days ago. Naruto, while being shocked he is going to be married, the fact that he is being given an arranged marriage doesn't surprise him. Life of a Jinchuriki I guess, always a sacrifice. The biggest point of sorrow what that he will be married and if the rumors of Zabuza being given a full pardon are true, he would have to face Haku-chan on a daily basis. Suddenly, knocking on his door brought him out of his thoughts. The second he opened it, he wished he didn't. Standing outside his apartment was Mei Terumi, the fifth Mizukage. Much to his shock, the second she saw him, she gave him the tightest hug he had ever received. Thank you. The man I love is in my arms again and it's all thanks to you. Though still slightly down about it, Naruto was able to joke about his situation. Just remember it when you're my Mizukage. Mei just gave one of her charming smiles. I'll be sure to. I hope you will find the situation to your liking, it will be different in Kiri, but I hope you will find a home there. I hope so, but I just don't know. Giving the soon-to-be, Kirin an understanding nod, she continued. Well, as soon as you're ready we can leave, but tomorrow morning is the latest. Naruto got into a thinking pose. How's 1 hour? Thinking of Iruka and the team guy, you know what, make it 2. You'll be ready that soon. Naruto nods, that can work, meet me at the north gate in 2 hours, and we will leave. Just as Naruto was about to head out, he stopped. So, why me? Is it the furball, my dad or my mom? A little bit of all of them. Although, your father is a secret that only I'm aware of. Not even Kiri's councilmen have been told. Naruto nodded before jumping off to go say goodbye to his few precious people. Naruto burst through the door, he knew Iruka was behind. Iruka-sensei, come on, we need to talk. Naruto, can't you see I'm teaching? Yeah, this is serious. I need to talk to you. Naruto, it can wait until lunch. Naruto surprised everyone in the class when his playful face left, in its place was that of a seasoned shinobi. Iruka-sensei, we really need to talk. Taken aback by the expression here early seen on his student's face, Iruka nodded. Okay class, it's your lucky day, be back after lunch, that's 2 hours. The students cheered before running off. With Iruka following, Naruto led the way to training ground 9, where Team Guy usually train. However, when they got there the training ground was empty. Naruto, Team Guy got sent on their first B-rank mission. They will be gone for a few months. What is so important that it couldn't wait? Iruka-sensei, I'm leaving Konoha. Iruka, not knowing about the arrangement, thought he was abandoning Konoha. What? How could you? Realizing what was going on in his sensei's mind, Naruto just chuckled. The Hokage is sending me to Kiri as a part of a new alliance. I'm getting married. Iruka's jaw dropped before a smile overtook his face. So, finally get to leave without abandoning Konoha. Congratulations, I know you tried to love this village, but too many people have wronged you. Yay, but I am really going to miss you. Naruto and Iruka spent the next 45 minutes talking about the past and the future when Naruto told him he had to pack all his stuff and write a few letters for Team Guy so they knew what happened. I'll drop them off with you, can you give them to them? Sure thing Naruto, good luck. Naruto smiled before leaping off. I hope I see you again Naruto. A single tear slid down Iruka's cheek. Front gate. The Sandame and Iruka were seeing off Naruto and the Mizukage. Iruka had to wipe away a bit of blood from his nose when he saw the Mizukage. Nobody could be sure, but Naruto is pretty sure he heard a lucky bastard from Iruka. But that, the Mizukage, a future Kiri ninja, Ao and Chijuro left Konoha. Chapter 5. Kiri's newest ninja. I can't do this. I can't do this. Zabuza just watched the newest Kiri nin pace back and forth in his dressing room. Calm down Gaki. You'll be fine. The Gaki just turned and glared at the swordsman. Fine. Fine. I'm marrying a girl I have never even met. How will I be fine? Not to mention, I haven't seen Haku-chan since arriving, she really liked me, and I really liked her. She is probably devastated and I haven't even seen her. Especially since I heard it was supposed to be the Mizukage. How would that work? He loves her, she love him, and I love his daughter, all the while being married to her. Oh god my head hurts. Zabuza was forced to fight back a smirk. She is doing better than you think. Knock knock knock. Naruto-san, they are ready for you. Taking a shaky breath, Naruto nodded and slowly made his way to the altar. He never even noticed that as Zabuza walked away he let his smirk show. Naruto walks down the aisle with as much authority as he could, however, that wasn't much since his hands were sweaty, his left eye twitching, not to mention he was as pale as a ghost. As he walked, he noticed members of Kiri Shinobi and Civilian Council were all present and in the first few rows. All the Jonin and elite ninja were behind them. Anyone else who wanted to go was behind them. He arrived at the altar and removed Kubikirabacho from his back, he embedded his giant sword into the wood behind the platform with a loud bang, just as he was told. Apparently, it was a tradition of the seven. The wedding was supposed to start 10 minutes ago and everyone was getting angsty. There was a lot riding on this wedding, without it, Kiri would be vulnerable to attack. They were still weakened by the civil war and still recovering. Should one of the Great Five attack, they would be beaten quickly, hell, as it sits, they would be hard-pressed to combat a well-prepared minor village. However, everyone would think twice about attacking them if they were allied with Konoha and by extension, Suna. Suddenly, the honorable elder of Kiri appeared and walked down the aisle. He walked with grace that belied his age. He was an elderly man, nearing his 80s. He had fought alongside the Nindame and Sandame Mizukage, as well as the Yondame before he had enough of the needless bloodshed and betrayed the Yondame during the bloodline wars. It was ultimately because of his information that allowed the resistance to overtake Kiri. He wore elegant ceremony robes. They were white, made of the finest silk in Kiri, and lined with the bluest sapphires in all of Earth Country. When he arrived at the podium, he addressed everyone. Welcome, and thank you for sharing the most joyous of moments. Here is Naruto Uzumaki, son of Kushina Uzumaki, Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi no Yoko, wielder of Kubikirabacho and apprentice of Zabuza Mamachi. Newest genin of Kiri. He has joined our village to forge a bond between two villages, stronger than any signature, stronger than any friendship. A bond of blood. And now, the bride. It was at this time, a young woman stepped out, at least he thought it was a young woman. He was at least sure it was in fact a woman. Her head was covered by a dark blue veil, he was unable to make out her hair color and length. Her face, too, was covered by a veil. She walked with a grace that meant she had to be a kunoichi. All the while Naruto knew he knew her from somewhere. Damn, who is she? I know her. It is like just being around her. Naruto's thoughts were interrupted when Zabuza spoke in an angry, gruff tone. I give this girl to be your wife, for you to care and provide for each other, and eventually love each other. She shall keep you safe and you, her. Naruto's mind was reeling. The girl is usually given away by her father if that's true then. Naruto took the girl's hand and she went to stand by his side while Zabuza took up his place as Naruto's best man. The elder spoke once again. Young Uzumaki, please remove her veil so we may be graced with her beauty. Naruto did as he was told. His heart was pounding, his hands shaking. Could it be her? Naruto slowly removed her veil, only to be met with a small smile of Haku Mamachi. The closest to a girlfriend he had ever had. Naruto's nervous and rehearsed smile turned to the truest happy smile to ever grace his face. Seeing the happiness of her future husband, Haku's smile turned up several notches. With grace, Haku removed the previously unnoticed nuibari from her back and stabbed it right next to his own, Kubikirabacho. Naruto just barely noticed the Mizukage in her own ceremonial robes take her place at Haku's side. Even in his days, he was able to pick out a bit of the elder's speech. Haku Mamachi, the adoptive daughter of Zabuza and Mei Mamachi. Bond these villages and these young people. Keep each other safe. You may kiss the bride. Naruto looked into her eyes as if asking for permission, with a subtle nod, their lips met for a second time. Well, the first time was just a goodbye, I think I love you, but we'll probably never see you again kiss. This is a, you're mine now kiss. It started slow, as if testing the water. That changed quickly when Haku's arms wrapped around Naruto's neck in an attempt to draw him closer. Accepting the slight push, Naruto's hands grabbed Haku's slender waist. Naruto's tongue nervously came out and licked Haku's bottom lip. Haku, unable to stifle the gasp, was quick to moan when Naruto took that as an invitation and shot his tongue into Haku's mouth and began to explore. But the audience? The civilian council's thoughts. The trades with Konoha will do wonders for my district. The shinobi council's thoughts. It appears as though our alliance with Konoha shall be solid. They truly care for each other. Not to mention, we risk losing the daughter of the Mizukage, while Konoha risks losing their Jinchuriki. This will keep us both in line. Mei was forced to tug the collar of her robe a little because the room was definitely heating up. Her blush only increased when Naruto moved his hand from her waist to her ass and held on firm. If her moan was anything to go on, Haku definitely didn't mind. Damn, that's hot, and to think that is only their first real kiss. Zabuza was torn, to be happy that his new apprentice and his adoptive daughter were together, or be pissed that his daughter and a guy she barely knew, even if they were married, were going at it like they were on their honeymoon. Eventually, the protective father in him won, and he was about to end it by force when they separated, a trail of saliva connecting them. They never noticed because they continued to look deep in the other's eyes. She looked radiant, he had never seen her so happy. Zabuza just looked skyward. Thank you, Kami, I know I don't deserve the level of happiness you have given me. I was reunited with my love, my daughter seems to have found love, and I am back home where I belong. I don't know what I did to gain your favor, but thank you. Mei cleared her throat and got the two teens' attention. They both turned bright red when they realized what was going on. Seeing as this is a political marriage and Haku's clan compound was destroyed several years ago, there is a small one-bedroom guest home attached to my clan compound. You will stay there for the first 8 months. After that, you are welcome to continue to rent it out or you can move. I will have an Anbu take you to your new home. Now, this is a first, never have two wielders of the seven been wed. Together, you shall remove the blades that keep both you and Kiri safe. Haku and Naruto both placed a hand on the other's sword before heaving it from the ground. Haku hooked the giant sword on Naruto's back, while Naruto slid the sword in the small sheath near her ass where Hae keeps it from Yu Hakashu. I now pronounce you man and wife. Shark shall show you to your new home. The newlyweds were following a shark Anbu when Mei called out. Be at the Mizukage tower at noon in 2 days. Both smiled and turned back. Hi Mizukage-sama. The walk to the home was short and both were nervous. The Anbu showed them to the house before disappearing in a swirl of water. As they looked around they loved it. It was bare but had a hominess to it. It had everything they needed. Naruto was fidgeting, unable to find something to do with his hands. He ended up sitting at the dining room table and playing with the salt shaker. With nervousness dancing in her eyes, she walked up and sat on his lap, effectively surprising him. She took his hand in hers and looked into his eyes. Look, neither one of us really know what's going on, let's just go with it and take it slow. The nervousness melted from both of their eyes, and happiness was present. Now, I'm not ready to go all the way, so let's do something else together. Naruto just nodded with a smile. Okay, Zabuza told me that there is a great hot spring here behind the tower, how about we talk over a relaxing bath? Even though they were married, the idea of being naked in front of the other was a pretty big step, obvious by the red that found its way on their faces. Haku gave a rather hesitant nod and got up from her husband's lap. Mei-sama said she already moved both of our clothes here, I'll grab my things. Naruto just watched her go and sighed. Okay, think Naruto. You've never had a girlfriend, the only girl you really know gets off at the thought of anything sharp and you are about to go get naked with your new wife that you have known for all of a week and I thought I was stressed before the wedding. He was broke out of his musings by Haku's voice. Hey Naruto, are you ready? Naruto looked up to see Haku standing there with a small bag full of clothes and other things. Sorry, lost in thought. Haku just smiled and nodded as he took off towards the bedroom. 2 days later. As the two couple made their way to the Mizukage tower, both with a happy content smile, fingers laced as they held onto the other. They were each astonished for a different reason. Naruto was shocked that nobody hated him. There was some fear, but it was greatly outshone by looks of respect. I haven't even done anything and they respect me. This is insane, can I truly live up to their expectations? It's so beautiful. I'm so glad I have this chance to live in a peaceful Kiri. Zabuza had always described it, but words just can't do it justice. Just then a kid about 8 years old jumped into an alley. "Ah, found you. Surrender or die." Another kid, about the same age, just stared impassively. The Kirinin never surrenders. Both Haku and Naruto smiled as they watched the boys pull out wooden practice kunai and begin their fight. The two never even realized they were right outside the Mizukage tower until they heard Zabuza's gruff voice. "Fun night, huh?" Both of their faces went bright red at what he was implying as they walked by, not responding to Zabuza. He just followed behind them. When they approached Mei's assistant's desk, she immediately sent them in. When they entered, Mei was doing paperwork while Chijiro waited patiently. "Here is requested Mizukage-sama." Looking at the four in the office, Mei sighed. "This is not going to go over well. Do you know how the seven swordsmen got started?" All, except for Zabuza, was confused. "No, Mizukage-sama. You see, the seven swordsmen was an accident." This got wide eyes from the three genin. Kiri, just like every other village, has a system for pairing up its genin. Usually, it is arrangements that have proven to work and then whatever is left gets paired. 1 year, right before the start of the Second Shinobi War, the pairing just happened to be 3 Genjutsu users. At the time, Genjutsu wasn't very popular in Kiri, so that was quite surprising. The council was going to change the teams, but the Nindame decided against it. They merely gave the best Genjutsu user in Kiri as their jonin. His name was Kengu. He trained that team to the ground, and during the war, they became feared by all. I mean like Konoha's yellow flash fear. After the second war was over, the Nindame was able to easily see the success of such a team. He then ordered the four to keep an eye out for special ninja that they believed to be worthy of becoming a swordsman of the mist, as people had begun to call them. All 3 genin were at the edge of their seats listening to the tale. Zabuza, even though he had heard the story many times before, was even getting into it. When the group made it to 7 members, they stopped recruiting. They believed that any more and quality will begin to suffer, any less, and they could be overwhelmed by numbers. Those 7 operated as one of the most powerful and successful shinobi forces in the elemental nations for almost 6 years when Kengu was severely wounded in battle. On his deathbed, Kengu presented those 7 with the swords that are still used today. Nobody knows how or when he got them. Until the reign of the Yondaime Mizukage and the groups falling into disarray, it was said that when combined, the 7 would potentially be capable of destroying a minor village on their own. The greatest group of them, the last generation, was said to be able to destroy a major village. Wow. I know, right? Incredible. Mei seemed to be taking in their reactions. With a nod she steeled herself. "I want you 4 to reform the 7. The genin were wide-eyed. "I knew this was going to be a team, but reform the 7. At this point in time, you, Zabuza, are the best Genjutsu user in Kiri. Not to mention you are the only living loyal ninja that has been trained in accordance with the rules of the swordsman. Your primary role will be to make sure that these 3 are worthy of the title. Similar to Kengu, you will not be part of the 7, but you will be the mold. Kengu himself never considered himself a member of the 7, and neither shall you." He gave an unsure nod. The genin weren't too sure either. "Mizukage-sama, up until 6 days ago, I was a Konoha nin. How can I join one of Kiri's greatest organizations?" Before the others could speak their minds, Mei glared at Naruto. Her words filled with anger and finality. She spoke directly to Naruto. "You're a Kiri nin now. Do you understand?" Naruto slowly nods. "I don't care what you were yesterday or the day before. Today, you fight for Kiri. You will bleed for Kiri. You will put your life on the line for Kiri. I think that makes you worthy." Naruto's objections were swallowed and he nodded with determination in his eyes. "I'm a Kiri nin, I won't let it down." It seemed as though Mei's words got to all of them because Haku's and Chijiro's protests were silenced. Mei took a deep breath. "Good. Now this is the hard part. Your team will not be forming for 6 months. Why not Mizukage-sama?" Mei smiled nervously as she mumbled something. What was that, Mei-sama? Resigning herself to her fate, she took another calming breath. "I said that the team won't be forming because Naruto won't be here." Mei immediately closed her eyes. "There, I said it." Even though her eyes were closed, Mei could feel the glare coming from her newly adoptive daughter. Slowly but surely the temperature began to decrease to the point that everyone's breath became visible. "And why is that, Mizukage-sama?" Sigh. "Out of all 3 of you, Naruto needs the most work on Genjutsu, seeing as he never had a teacher. From what I've been led to believe, his style is a bastardized version of Hiruzen Sarutobi's Bujutsu style. So, for the next 6 months, each of you will train separately before joining as a team. Naruto with Zabuza, mainly working on Genjutsu. Chijiro will be working with Ao and Shark. Your focus will be your chakra reserves and ninjutsu. I will be working with you, Haku, on your bloodline. You will also be doing some training at the hospital as a medic." Haku's anger was temporarily forgotten. How can you help with my bloodline? Mei smiled internally at the girl's lack of anger. I have lava and boil where you have ice. I can assist you in gaining control of an advanced element since I have already done that with two. Simply speaking, I will guide you. But why can't he train here? Mei smiled evilly and Zabuza gulped while trying to sneak away. Ask Zabuza, he requested it. The room temperature dropped again, this time even colder. Why would you do that? Zabuza, having seen an angry Haku before, spoke quickly. I was worried that training would be hindered if you were together. I wanted to be sure that this team is as well prepared as possible. Naruto managed to calm Haku down while Zabuza spoke. When do you leave? Tomorrow. Tears began to slowly fall from her chocolate eyes. Is there any other bad news or can I go spend the rest of his time here with my husband? Go ahead. Naruto, pack your essentials and be at the gate at dawn. Hi Zabuza-sensei. Both Haku and Naruto walked out of the room, leaving Mei, Zabuza and Chijuro. You're dismissed to Chijuro. Al wants you to report at Anbu headquarters at noon tomorrow. Hi Mizukage-sama. Chijuro simply bowed and left. As soon as the room was clear, Mei turned to Zabuza, tears brimming in her eyes. Do you have to go? It hurts her as much as it hurts me. Zabuza walked up and whipped away a stray tear from her cheek with his thumb. Yeah, he could be the greatest ninja Kiri ever produced, and if I hinder that because I don't want to leave the bed of my lover, then I can't call myself a Kiri shinobi. Hi. Let's follow the kid's example and make the most out of our time together. Mei gave a sexy smile before closing her blinds and locking the door. I think it is time to christen this desk. I like the way you think. Their last night in Kiri proved to be adventurous for both Naruto and Zabuza, and both of their wives decided to try and remember as much of their man as possible, though in admittedly different ways. The next morning, at the main gate, a sad scene could be found. You will be back, right? Naruto just tightens his grip around his wife. Of course. I don't know how I'll survive without you. The two engage in a slow, loving kiss. Are you sure this is the only way? Unfortunately, Mei has a responsibility to appear strong in front of her soldiers. She doesn't have the privilege of grabbing onto her lover for dear life and letting her tears fall. I'm sorry. Zabuza gives Mei one quick kiss and hug before turning to the young couple. Let's go Gaki, we have a long journey ahead of us, if you get strong enough for my satisfaction, then we will return early. Haku gave Naruto one more quick kiss before leaning up to his ear and whispering. You better get strong real quick because I'm gonna go crazy without you. I will, don't worry. With their goodbyes said, Naruto and Zabuza began their journey. 36 hours. They had been running for 36 hours without a single break. The worst part was that Zabuza still seemed fresh while Naruto was nearly out of chakra. How much longer? Zabuza just looked back with an evil smirk. About an hour then you get a taste of your real training. Naruto gave a determined nod. Every time he thought about giving up, Haku's tear-streamed face would enter his mind. He needed to get as strong as possible as fast as possible. With determination brimming, Naruto actually picked up the pace and began to overtake Zabuza much to his shock. That is until he formed a smirk. Can't wait to get home to your girl huh? Zabuza was shocked when he saw the fire in Naruto's eyes. 6 months. I'll do it for. Naruto continued to pull away until Zabuza snapped out of his shock. I think I'm gonna like training you Gaki. For the last hour of the run, Naruto just kept increasing his pace. He knew it was stupid, but he was going to get stronger. When Naruto saw that they were approaching a beach, he was sure they were done. Slowly, Naruto decreased his pace. However, he was shocked when Zabuza kept right on going, straight over the water. Sighing tiredly, Naruto picked up his pace again and ran after him. 30 minutes of water running, and Naruto is about ready to pass out. However, Zabuza just increased his pace. Naruto noticed, he seemed to running right for a cloud of fog. Unsure of what was going on, Naruto followed the man closely. No more than 30 seconds into the mist did Naruto find himself on land. He instantly dropped to a knee, unable to stand. Wow. Naruto realized that this mist was even thicker than his choking fog. Zabuza was able to easily sense the boy's question. This, Gaki, is known as the Island of Fog. Every time there is a prospective member of the Seven, an existing member must bring them here and they must live for however long the man dictates, living by only sound. This island holds this mist, no level of wind jutsu can dispel it for more than a second. Now, our training begins. Naruto attempted to stand several times, but his legs just kept giving out. Let's see how good his stamina truly is. I thought you were going to be home to see Haku-chan in 4 months. If that's the best you can do, we might as well stop now because I'm not wasting my time. Zabuza watched as he pulled Kubikirabacho off his back and stabbed it into the ground. Damn it. Stand. I will succeed. I will see my beloved soon. I will not fail. Naruto barely made it to his feet by climbing his sword. What's next? Come at me with everything you have. All shinobi arts. Nodding tiredly, yet determinedly, gripping Kubikirabacho tighter, Naruto charged. It was sloppy but quick. Naruto's downward slash was easily knocked away. You will have to do better. Naruto continued to attempt to overtake him with Genjutsu, but couldn't. My muscles are too sore to wield my sword, I don't have the chakra for ninjutsu, I don't know any genjutsu, I'm gonna have to use ninjutsu. I'll just stick with one that don't require much chakra. In his tiredness, Naruto's hand seal speed was pathetic. Water release. Gunshot. Zabuza didn't even have to bother dodging the water bullets since they missed by over 10 feet. However, as soon as he was done, he heard a light thump. Naruto was passed out in the sand. About time, his stamina is okay, so chakra control, hand seal speed, and Genjutsu, that's about it. I also need to get him to the point of even on the verge of death, his hearing will act as his sight. Zabuza spent the next 20 minutes setting up the camp they will remain at for as long as they needed. When he was finished, he decided to go get some sleep as well. Back in Kiri. Damn you, Zabuza. Haku continues to lay on her bed, unable to sleep. Her sheets and pillows are all over the floor from tossing and turning. We've only slept in the same bed 4 times, and already I can't sleep without him, how pathetic am I? Knock knock knock. Who the hell could that be? It's like 2 in the morning. Haku gets out of bed, makes sure she is decent and opens the door. Mizukage-sama. Is something the matter? Mei attempts a disarming smile, but it comes out as more of a tired grimace. No, just can't sleep, haven't been able to since they left, you know. Haku nods understandingly. Come in, do you want some tea or anything? Sure, that would be nice. So Mei takes a seat at their small table while Haku goes and makes some tea. I like what you've done with the place, I figured you and Naruto wouldn't have gotten anything done well except each other. Mei giggled when Haku's face turned red. Haku turned and mumbled something. What was that? I did this last night when I couldn't sleep, I just can't stop wishing for his arms to be around me, for me to be able to rest my head on his chest and have his heart lull me to sleep. Mei's giggling stopped at Haku's confession. I know what you mean. I went years without him, but now that he is back I want him at my side at all times. Izu. Haku was interrupted by Mei. Mei gave Haku her charming smile. When we are alone like this, just Mei. Hi, Mei. Zabuza never told me how you two met. Mei gave a faraway smile. I doubt he would, he was never one to share more than he had to. My family used to be nobles here in Kiri. They had strict rules about not being able to start training until being 10 years old, so I was way behind my classmates. Zabuza had just done his deed. He was almost instantly accepted into the 7 swordsmen. Well, I approached him one day after class to ask for training, he laughed at me, I got so mad I was about to spit a lava bowl in his face before I calmed down and walked away. He was an orphan, needless to say he didn't like that I had a better childhood than him. Then he said it gonna go cry to mommy and get the council to make me. Good luck, I'm a member of the 7 swordsmen. Only the Mizukage can order me to do something. The worst part was that he was right, I had every intention of having my family make him train me. At that point I followed him around. As soon as I got out of school I would follow him, do all the same training, everything. Eventually, I impressed him, the rest is history. That sounds like Zabuza. The two spent all night sitting on the couch talking until they both eventually passed out, feeling slightly better than when they were alone. But Zabuza. Wake up, Gaki. Naruto slowly opened his eyes and looked around, only he saw nothing but mist. Oh, where am I? Remember, we ran from Kiri to an island where I ordered you to attack me. The light went off in Naruto's head. Oh yay, I remember attacking you, but that's it. Zabuza just shook his head. You passed out in the middle of performing a ninjutsu. Oh, so I guess I have a lot of work to do. Yeah, your stamina is good for a high chunin or low jonin. What we need to work on is your chakra control, Genjutsu skill, and hand seal speed. Outside of that, we may spend some time working on strength and speed. Naruto nodded with determination in his eyes. When do we? Hey, what's that? Following the blonde's eyes, Zabuza gave his normal smirk and grabbed the handle sticking over his shoulder. He easily hefted the Zanbatsu over his head. It was about the same length and width as Kubikirabacho, but was straight, with a 45-degree angle as a point-buster sword. This is the sword I used before Sensei died, and I held onto Kupi. She never chose me, merely allowed me to use a small portion of her power until her next true wielder was found. You. Now. No more questions. Go stand in the surf, I want you to use your chakra to hold you still as waves pass. At the same time, I have 6 clones on the shore, you are to kill them with thrown weapons. I'll cook breakfast, you can eat in 30 minutes. Hi, Zabuza sensei. Zabuza cooked some fish he caught, all the while watching Naruto. Zabuza chuckled when he heard a particularly large wave followed by a short yell and a splash. His chakra control is good for the amount he has, but he wasted too much when we were running, he should be able to run for days without getting tired. 30 minutes later and Zabuza is finished with breakfast. Zabuza watched as 3 shuriken flew from Naruto and dispersed his last clone. "Hey Gaki, come eat so we can start your real training." "Hi, Zabuza-sensei." The two ate quickly, not even attempting to make conversation. "The first thing you will do is, I want you to be able to go through the hand seals for water release. Gunshot jutsu before I can reach you from 7 feet away, 7 hand seals 7 feet, ready begin." Zabuza instantly began charging, but Naruto hesitated on performing the jutsu. That earned him a hard punch to the stomach that knocked the air out of him. "If you hesitate, you die." For 6 hours, the two performed the same routine, Naruto attempting to finish his jutsu and Zabuza attempting to hit him. Towards the end, Naruto was finally able to do it. "Okay, now I want you to get in position exactly how I do, I will correct anything you do wrong." Naruto nods and drops into his position, it is a wide stance with his sword sticking straight out to his side. "Not bad, shift your front foot." For 4 months that is exactly how things progressed, and not that Zabuza would admit it, but he was proud of the kid, he was improving by leaps and bounds. He had learned his personal Genjutsu style, even began working on his own twist to it. His hand seal speed was off the charts, and his chakra control was slightly better. Naruto woke up and was about to head straight to the water to work on chakra control, while Zabuza cooked breakfast, but he was stopped before he could. "Hold up Gaki, do you know what today is?" Naruto gives a cocky smirk. "The day we go home. If you meet my standards, then yes, we will be going home, otherwise we will finish out our time here." Zabuza heaved his sword from its temporary sand sheath. "Well then, come at me with everything you got." Naruto immediately charged with a downward slash that Zabuza blocked. Naruto pushed with all his might however, the older male was just too strong to be forced back. Using his longer reach, Zabuza lashed out with his foot in an attempt to score the first hit, however, Naruto was ready for it and dodged the kick. With a lack of weight pushing down on his sword, Zabuza was forced slightly off balance. However, even a genin taught by the legendary god of shinobi, that was enough. Naruto managed to use the tall man's lack of balance to trip the jonin. The second Zabuza hit the ground, he was forced to roll to the side or lose his head as Naruto brought the sword down, right where his neck had been. Zabuza rolled several more times. Naruto saw that Zabuza had stopped his rolling and was about to stand. Deciding to capitalize on the time Zabuza would need to stand, Naruto charged. He was however, caught off guard when Zabuza did a handstand and kicked him right under the chin. The force lifted the teen off the ground and into the air about 8 feet. That wasn't all, while the blonde was falling. Zabuza performed his fastest ninjutsu. Water release. Gunshot jutsu. Seeing the water bullets about to hit, Naruto quickly switched with a water clone. When the clone was gone, Naruto was nowhere to be seen. A smirk made its way onto Zabuza's face. "So, that's how you want to do this?" Quickly turning, Zabuza's blade met Kubikirabacho. "No." The Naruto he was facing dissolved into water. From across the shore, Naruto flashes through hand seals at a speed well above any average jonin. Zabuza still couldn't believe the speed the genin could perform any ninjutsu in his arsenal. Water release. Water dragon missile jutsu. Water from the ocean rises, forming a giant water dragon with glowing golden eyes. Zabuza smirks and jumps straight into the air. His sword was brought right onto the water construct's head, returning it to the ocean. Not bad, but not good Enu. Zabuza just barely brings his sword up in time to block Naruto's swing. However, man's eyes widen when he notices Naruto's bulged cheeks. The water bullet that Naruto fired was dyed red when it impacted Zabuza's face, breaking the man's nose. "First blood, I win." As if to accent the point, Naruto nodded down to the puddle of water that was dyed red with the jonin's blood. "Congratulations. It is with great pride when I say that you are now worthy of being one of the 7. Let's go home." And Kiri. 2 of Kiri's most beautiful and powerful women stood across from each other in a field, both panting and bleeding. Their battle was fierce, as the patches of burning grass and fallen trees can attest to. One had hair that was black as night and reached her middle back, however, it was kept secure by a tight braid. Her dark chocolate eyes held a kindness in them, a kindness she wasn't showing to her opponent. She was a slender woman, her body the epitome of fitness and beauty. In her hands was a sword that anybody who knew anything about Kiri or Genjutsu would know. It was long, about 3.5 feet thin, with a very sharp point. The most distinguishing aspect was the line of wire trailing behind her. She was Haku Mamachi Uzumaki, daughter of the Mizukage and wife of Naruto Uzumaki. Across the field was arguably the strongest kunoichi in the elemental nations. She had long russet red hair down to her ankles, shining jade eyes, and a curvy body that didn't belong on a warrior. Even though her hands were empty, she was far from unarmed. She was Mei Mamachi, wife of Zabuza Mamachi and the goddess Mizukage. Mei smiled at Haku. Let's call it a day. No, I must get stronger. For Naruto-kun. Haku was in front of Mei almost instantly. Her attempts crisp and accurate. However, they weren't enough. No matter what she did, it was dodged. Mei continued to dodge the strikes. Not as easily as 4 months ago, but they were dodged nonetheless. As Mei kept dodging, Haku began to get discouraged. However, the second it began, she thought back to 2 months ago. Flashback. Mei and Haku were training, very similar to how they were currently, however, there was an air of happiness around them. That was to end when they both sensed an unfamiliar and powerful presence very close by. To close in fact. Hello ladies. Both kunoichi were shocked that the voice came from so close. As soon as they turned they were greeted with the sight of one of very few S-class ninja that weren't a cage or missing nin. Jiraiya of the Sennin. What are you doing here? This could be seen as espionage against an allied village, destroying the bond between our villages, seeing as I know I never allowed you to enter Kiri. Jiraiya didn't seem bothered by her threat. Where is Naruto? Mei was put out that her question went ignored. You didn't answer my question. Jiraiya just gave what he thought was a sexy smirk. It was actually just a perverse smile. Well, you didn't answer mine. Sigh. I can't imagine Konoha wanting to hurt our alliance already. He is on a training trip with Zabuza. Jiraiya nodded but seemed in thought. Where did they go? First you tell me why you want to know. Jiraiya and Mei were in the middle of a staring contest when Haku spoke up in a deadly tone. If you don't tell me why you are seeking my husband, you won't leave this village alive. I don't care how strong you are, I don't care what your village could do to mine. Nobody threatens my husband and gets away with it. Now, what is it you want? As if to accentuate her point, she slowly drew her sword back to prepare to attack. Jiraiya was almost scared of her. He is in danger and I wish to warn him. Danger from who? Jiraiya shook his head no. Not here, somewhere secure. The three took a quick run to the Mizukage's office, where Jiraiya was quick to install several security seals. Okay, are you both aware of his tenant? Both nodded. Are you both aware of his heritage? Both nodded. The group called Akatsuki are after him. Mei went into Mizukage mode. What do they want with Naruto? Surely there are more high-profile targets out there. The tailed beasts they are after Kyuubi and all the others. Haku and Mei were speechless. Mei broke out of her stupor first. Do you know if they have found Yukitake, the holder of the sixth tail? How powerful are they? Jiraiya sighed. They haven't. I have reason to believe that Itachi Uchiha and Kisame Hoshigaki are members and that Orochimaru of the Sennin was a member at one point. This got wide eyes from Mei and an emotionless stare from Haku. What do they want with the tailed beasts? Jiraiya just shook his head sadly. I don't know, the only reason I know as much as I do is because two men, matching the descriptions of Itachi and Kisame, had spoken with one of my informants about the location of the 6 and 9-tailed Jinchuriki a few years back during one of my searches for Orochimaru. He was seen wearing the same thing, a black cloak with red clouds. However, that's not all. I have reason to believe that what has been told of his heritage. If I know that old, stubborn bastard as well as I think I do, then he won't care about the boy. However, he must keep up his soldier's moral. If that means killing one teenage boy, then he won't hesitate. Both Mei and Jiraiya were surprised when Haku started walking away. It was Jiraiya who called out to her. Where are you going? When Haku turned back to them, they were shocked by the anger and determination her eyes held. If I'm going to show those fools what happens when someone threatens my husband, I need to get stronger. Haku took off in a run back towards the Mizukage's training ground. Then flashback. Haku's determination was renewed and she began striking out, faster, swifter, and cleaner. Mei was hard-pressed to continue dodging. She is getting better every day, incredible. In an impressively acrobatic display, Mei bent backwards until she could perform a handstand. As she did so, she lashed her foot out and kicked Haku's hand, forcing her to drop the sword. However, Haku wasn't done. She flashed through several hand seals at low Jonin speed. Ice release. 1,000 flying needles. The water from the natural mist in the air suddenly formed hundreds of small senbon out of ice. The needles immediately were sent at the cage. Knowing she couldn't dodge them all, Mei flashed through her own hand seals at a speed that was still a blur to Haku. Earth release. Mud dome jutsu. Mei spit out mud that formed a protective dome around her. You're getting better. Haku did not take it as a compliment. She was about to charge at Mei when a nearby alarm clock rang. Alright, that's it for the day. Haku looked like she wanted to complain, but simply nodded. As the two made their way back to Mei's clan compound, they talked about this and that, most of it focusing on when Naruto and Zabuza would be back. Little did they know that the subject of their conversation would be walking through the main gate any minute now. With Naruto and Zabuza. Both Naruto and Zabuza were dripping with sweat and almost out of chakra. That 36-hour trip out there was almost done, and it had only been about 27 hours. Needless to say, both were reaching their limits. Their already grueling pace increased when they passed a small traveler's shop that was only a few miles out of Kiri. So, traveling at a pace that would make most jonins head spin, Naruto and Zabuza went even faster. Haku, I'm almost there. They both passed through the gates as fast as possible and made a beeline for their lovers. As soon as Naruto arrived in his home, his heart dropped. It looked like nobody had lived there in years. More likely would be 4 months, the amount of time since he left. Just as despair was about to sink in, he registered the arms wrapped around him from behind. He internally noted that his shirt was getting wet. When he finally came to his senses, he quickly spun and wrapped his wife in the tightest hug he could. Even with his relief, a nagging voice in his head kept asking where she had been sleeping. Why does it look like nobody has been here since I left? Haku shook her head without letting go of him, tears of joy still falling from her eyes. I couldn't sleep alone, it was driving me nuts. Eventually Mei came over and was having the same problem. She agreed to allow me to stay in her guest bedroom. Seeing her tear-streamed face, hearing her confession. It hurt more than any blow Zabuza had ever given him. I'm sorry, I will never leave you again. You're damn right, because I won't let you. And so, just like that, Naruto and Haku fell asleep, finally in the arms of the one they love. Both Naruto and Haku slept longer that night than either had in 4 months. Haku gave a soft smile as she woke up. However, her smile didn't last long after her eyes opened. She was alone, her husband nowhere to be found. She quickly got up and the house was clean, the 4 months of dust gone. Thanks to her fragile emotional state, her rational mind was out the window. The pre-verbal nail in the coffin, as it were, was the calendar on the wall dated for 5 days after her new husband left. But it was an odd dream, he only just left. Haku was unable to stop the sobs from racking her body. She curled up on the bed and cried. It had seemed so real, like all this time happened. Haku, are you alright? The second she heard the concerned voice she stopped. Looking up, she was unable to stop herself from jumping at her blonde-haired husband. I thought it was a dream, that you were still gone. God knows I dreamt about your return. Naruto just held her for several minutes before breaking them apart and looking deep into her puffy brown eyes. Don't worry, as I said, I will never leave you again. Without warning, her sad brown eyes turned into the intense, sharp brown eyes of an experienced shinobi. We need to speak with Mei, there is something you must know. Hand in hand, they made their way across the yard to the main house. Haku knocked, and it wasn't long before Mei answered in a bathrobe. Zabuza's complaints could be heard from their room. Mei smiled at them before giving Naruto a friendly hug. So, have you two got reacquainted? Naruto's face got bright red, while Haku, who was used to the red-haired Kage's teasing, just got a tinge of pink. Yes, but we are here to discuss something important. Mei's playful demeanor disappeared, in its place was the Mizukage. Zabuza, get some clothes on and come to the dining room. Hearing her serious tone, Zabuza immediately complied. 2 minutes later, Zabuza was sitting at the table with the others. What's this about? Mei took a deep breath. 2 months ago. And so, Mei informed them of Akatsuki and their goals. Afterwards, Naruto and Zabuza were speechless. Kisame is a member of Akatsuki. Kisame was stronger than Zabuza when he was at his peak. That kid is going to need to be stronger if he wants any chance of standing up against Kisame, a lot stronger. Unfortunately, I have taught him everything I can. After some quiet time, Naruto spoke up. You said that they were just trying to get the locations of all the Jinchuriki now, right? Mei nodded. Then we should be fine, we just need to get stronger. The four continued to discuss their options when Naruto brought up a valid question. Do we tell Chijuro? This way he will know what he is getting into. Mei thought for a few minutes. No, we will tell him later. No need to worry him. If too many people know, then word could get to them, causing them to change plans. For now, train hard. The day after tomorrow you will be having your first official team meeting. Be at training ground 14 at noon. Everyone agreed before heading to their respective bedrooms to continue their earlier tasks. Naruto and Haku spent their day off together. Their primary task was to replace all of Naruto's destroyed clothes and gear, spending 4 months on an island with 4 pairs of clothes and 1 set of kunai, needless to say they were trash. When they were done, Naruto's wardrobe remained relatively unchanged. He wore a sleeveless black shirt that had a burnt orange Uzumaki swirl on the back. With a white belt across his chest to carry Kubikirabacho. For pants he had white and black camouflage pants with a ninja tool pouch on his right hip. On his feet, he bought a new pair of black shinobi sandals. His hair was now even shorter, closer to that of Zabuza. Naruto couldn't help but notice the looks of respect he received. The way they look at me, why do you think they do it? Haku was content just holding on to him. I don't know, could be the alliance you brought, it could even be the Kyuubi. Naruto gave her a disbelieving look. Hey, it could be this isn't Konoha, you know. No, that's not it. Even under the respect, I can see the underlining of fear. It's small, but it's there. The two walked towards their home in silence before Naruto interrupted the peace. I bet it's the sword. The sword, it is one of the famous seven. It's part of Kiri's history. Haku nodded. That's possible too, now, it doesn't matter. Let's get home and I will give you a massage. Haku couldn't stop laughing when Naruto threw her over his shoulder and began sprinting towards their home. Next day, training ground 14. At 11:30 am, Naruto and Haku walk onto the training ground and see a blue-haired boy with glasses meditating on a small pond. Naruto calls out to his new teammate. Hey Chijuro, we're not late, are we? Chijuro looks up and gives a slight smile while standing to go meet his team on land. Depends on who you ask. According to most, you're 30 minutes early. According to Ao-sensei, you're 30 minutes late. He is very strict about being at least an hour early to any meeting. It allows you to either set up traps or check for traps. Naruto gave him a blank stare before busting out laughing. It must have been fun training under him. Chijuro shrugged. Fun? Definitely not. Worth the trouble, absolutely. I am considerably stronger than before. Naruto got a dangerous glint in his eye. How much stronger? In a rare show of confidence, Chijuro stepped forward. Strong enough to beat you. Naruto looked excited. Let's see. Chijuro began stepping back to get proper distance. You're on anything goes. Naruto gave him an "are you stupid" look. Is there any other way to fight? Haku just shook her head and sighed as she walked to the edge of the training ground, all the while muttering about how dumb boys can be. When Haku finally got to the tree line, she was surprised to see Zabuza and Mei just sitting on a fallen tree. Why are you guys over here? Mei just smiled. This is something they need to figure out for themselves. Haku was now genuinely confused, so Zabuza filled her in. I don't think even they know it. But they are fighting for the leadership position. The winner of this fight will be the team's unofficial leader. Haku's eyes went wide at that. Back in the center of the training ground, both Naruto and Chijuro removed their swords from their backs. Naruto glared competitively. Ready for this? Chijuro gave a slight nod. I was born ready. In the blink of an eye, their swords met between them as they both struggled to overpower the other. In brute strength, Naruto was the clear victor. However, Chijuro was making his sword's ability known as it kept giving off waves of chakra every time he would gain ground. Quickly spinning to the side and allowing Chijuro's sword to impact the ground, creating a small crater in the process. Naruto caught the blue-haired swordsman in the chin with a backhand. Attempting to follow through, Naruto brought his sword around and tried to remove his head from his body. As soon as Chijuro saw his opponent's plan, he had already come up with a tactic that was sure to surprise him enough to allow him the victory. Channeling chakra into his own sword, Chijuro formed a protective shield around himself that Naruto's sword simply bounced off. As soon as the threat of decapitation was ended, Chijuro commanded the shield to form his sword's famous hammer. Swinging the chakra hammer, Chijuro was actually surprised and disappointed when he struck Naruto in the chest. His disappointment turned to shock when Naruto turned to water. His shock ended when he heard a shout. Water release. Water dragon missile jutsu. Chijuro turned to see the biggest water dragon he had ever seen. It seemed like one out of the horror stories of Kisame. Mentally commanding his hammer to reform the shield. Chijuro was relieved when the water dragon was dispersed on his chakra shield. However, the speed he was forced to move the shield took a lot of chakra, something he was sure Naruto noticed. Naruto took stock of the situation. I saw him form the shield before, it barely affected him. Why does he seem so much more tired now? I'll have to keep an eye on it. Chijuro, being no slouch in water ninjutsu, flashed through his own hand seals while Naruto was distracted. Water release. Great waterfall jutsu. Water from the pond gathered over Chijuro before shooting towards Naruto. Naruto simply released the chakra keeping him on the surface of the water and sunk to the bottom of the pond where he applied chakra to stick to the bottom. Feeling the water around him begin to rest after being disturbed by Chijuro's impressive display of water ninjutsu. He was about to surface when he saw Chijuro venture onto the water. Betting a wicked smirk, Naruto flashed through some of his favorite hand seals. Water release. 5 eating sharks jutsu. Unfortunately, Chijuro was expecting something like this, so when the sharks attacked him, he turned to water. Damn, water clone. Deciding to take the fight to him, Naruto shot out of the water and right to where he believed Chijuro was. It proved he was right. Though his downward slash was blocked, but Naruto was able to heel kick Chijuro back a few feet. The Genjutsu fight that followed was nothing less than spectacular, proving exactly why they were the future of the seven. Eventually though, keeping up the hammer for too long caused Chijuro to run low on chakra, and without the extra strength provided from his sword, he was quickly overpowered. Chijuro was knocked onto his back by Naruto hitting him with the flat side of his blade. When Chijuro looked up, Naruto had his giant sword pointing right at his neck. "I surrender." Naruto gave a small smile and helped Chijuro up, both panting. Suddenly, clapping was heard and when they looked around, Zabuza, Mei, Haku and most of the hunter Nin and Anbu were there as well. Apparently the levels of chakra they were putting out gathered a lot of attention. Both just smiled sheepishly, neither really used to the attention. However, Zabuza quickly got fed up with waiting for them to leave. "Get out of here. We have a team meeting to conduct." Zabuza is scary. That fact was obvious when Kiri's strongest ninja fled like sheep in a wolf's den. The only ones left was the new team and the Mizukage. Mei leaned over and gave Zabuza a quick kiss. "See you tonight, hun, take it easy on them. It's their first day." Zabuza just grumbled about ruining his scary introduction. "Alright, before we get started with any real training, I want you each to introduce yourselves. Name, likes, dreams, the whole 9 yards. Haku, you first." "My name is Haku Mamachi Uzumaki. I like my husband, Naruto, father, Zabuza, and my mother, Mizukage-sama. I dislike killing if it is not necessary. My dream is to have a large family." Zabuza nodded. "Okay, now you're Chijuro." "My name is Chijuro, no surname. I'm an orphan from the war. I like training, Ao-sensei and Mizukage-sama. I dislike war. My dream is to restore the 7 swordsmen to their former glory." "Okay, Naruto." "My name is Naruto Uzumaki. I love my wife, Haku, and like my sensei, Zabuza, I also like training. I dislike people who allow their hatred to consume them. My dream is to become strong enough to fight and beat each of the 5 Kage." Zabuza nodded at that, it was after all a dream he had once had. "Alright, we already know each other's abilities, so let's just go get a mission." The 3 students nod. It doesn't take long for them to arrive at the first floor of the Mizukage Tower, where missions are given. When Zabuza and his team walk in, the chunin bowed to them. "What rank mission would you like for your team?" Zabuza appeared and thought for a minute. "Let's start off easy." The man began reaching for a D rank when Zabuza just picked up a folder off the B rank stack and began reading. "This will do, thanks." Meanwhile, both the chunin and the students were shocked. B rank to start off easy. The adventure of Team Swordsman begins. What if Naruto wields nuibari chunin exams? And thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoy this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel and leave a like if you guys need the next part, comment down, and thanks for watching the video and see you guys in the next video.